All right, welcome on in to another episode, first episode of the new year for, of course, DCU Daily and Also Curious. It's gonna be a packed show, as it is always. We've got a lot to get into. Even though it was a light news day, we figured, we bring you some of the best bits of what is out there, including, of course, we've got the latest from Avengers Doomsday. Maybe we know what the fourth teaser is going to tell us, at least maybe the dialogue in the fourth teaser. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into, of course, lots of conversation from the DC side of things. What exactly is James Gunn and company looking for in the new Wonder Woman for the DCU? We'll talk about that. And of course, we'll look back at the year that was at the movies in 2026 and then look ahead to the year that might be, actually 2025, and then look ahead to the year that might be at the movies in 2026. Lots more, and with me, I'll have John to do that. But as we usually do, we're going to hit that news intro and get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Corbin.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live. If you are watching us live, if you're watching us after we are live, we appreciate it all in the same. Definitely hit the like button. If you're here for the first time, if you found us over the New Year's holiday, over the Christmas holiday, just the holidays in general, well, thank you and welcome on in. It's going to be a fun year at the movies, and hopefully it'll be a fun year on Also Curious talking about the movies. We got DCU Daily, we got some MCU Weekly, we got a hot take debate on today, and as well as, of course, a Q&A session, as we usually do on the Friday shows. Of course, my name is Daniel, again, if you are new to the show. If you aren't, then you know who I am. And we'll get into lots more about 2025, 2026. As the calendar turns, we'll talk about what was, I think, a good year at the movies, but maybe not as big as some people expect it to be, and now moving forward into what might be hopefully a much bigger year at the movies. But I know there's one person who saw more movies than I did last year, and he's here on the show today. As always with me, I've got John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Well, according at least to my Letterboxd Wrapped, I did log 153 movies. Not all of those were new releases. I think I saw 61 new releases last year, which is a pretty good number. I mean, my friends have me beat. They saw like 90 to 100. But, I think I did a pretty decent job seeing movies this year. Hopefully I'll see Marty Supreme tomorrow. That's not set in stone just yet, but I'm going to try and see it, which should be pretty nerve-wracking from what I've heard. So let's hope it's good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I haven't seen Marty Supreme yet, but I would love to check it out. John isn't rocking the brown hoodie today. Yeah.
It's actually hot in your burgundy hoodie, but yeah, it's in the wash. I realize I'm like, you know what, this needs a wash, so let's throw that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have my green shirt, leftover Christmas swag, I guess. Well, I mean, it's just green. It's not like it's Christmas themed, but
Yeah. Well, I just want
to that.
We're gonna get into everything that you guys are talking about in the chat. I just wanted to briefly say hello to those of us, or those of you watching us live. Thank you for tuning in, of course. And if you're watching us after live, get in the comments down below. We'll bring those comments into next week's Q&A session. But we got Tony here, we got Monique watching, Caleb. Of course, we have let's see. Oh, Enterprising is here. Hello, Enterprising. Eugene's watching us live. There we go. And then Eugene, I already mentioned Eugene's name. Enterprising, I already said as well. Who else? Did I miss one? Oh, Hunter Iggy. Yeah, Hunter Iggy. You were asking about the 17-day theatrical window that Netflix supposedly is going to stick to, which we'll get into that. We'll get into that. In fact, might talk about it more than once in today's show. We'll talk about it and the DCU, how it relates to all the Warner Brothers movies after Netflix finishes the acquisition. If, of course, Netflix completes it, if Paramount, goes quietly into the night, which who knows. But Movie Spud is here. Hello, Movie Spud. Okay. Yeah, first Honka Honka of the year. Zelda is actually gonna be here she was here earlier. She's resting now. Like napping, that is. But hey, it's Happy National Science Fiction Day. That is awesome. We got a lot of sci-fi stuff to talk about. And Darklead Eric is here. Darklead Eric, you had a couple of very, very interesting comments that we will talk about in the Q&A session. So do stick around for that. That's going to be, of course, the big finale of the show tonight. But as a programming note, after DCU Daily finishes up, we will go on to do Fancast Friday. You guys voted for the MCU's Cyclops and Jean Grey, of course, in the Mutant Saga, so post Secret Wars reboot. We'll talk about who could be the actors that can come in and play a younger iteration of Cyclops and Jean Grey than what we've seen in a while. I think I have a really good choice
for one of them,
so
and I think Dan would agree with me. So
I've seen the choices, and John hasn't seen mine, so we'll see how it works out. But okay, so we usually start the show off with the news, and I figured, John, since it's not a very news-heavy day, as it's still the New Year's holiday per se, I figured what we should do
take debates and Q&As and proper things, so it can feel like more of a packed show.
Which, what we want to have a nice, fun show. So without further ado, I figured let's start the new year off by looking back at the year that was at the movies. And 2025, we have talked about it. We talked about it a couple of days ago on our last show of the year of 2025, that while it wasn't quite as good of a year, at least financially, as maybe the industry was expecting, it certainly still delivered on a lot of fronts, right? So so it wasn't the worst thing ever, but it wasn't 2023. 2023, I think, is still the financially the best year since the COVID pandemic. Still not anywhere close to before the pandemic, but we live in a different world. But John, let's talk about the year that was in 2025. This little report here from the Hollywood Reporter, and we're going to go into a few different metrics and we can talk about what those mean. They broke down how much each big movie studio, we're just talking Hollywood movie studios, right? So which big of the Hollywood movie studios had how much of a market share at the box office in 2025. They actually broke it down into domestic, international, and global. Now, of course, we talked about last year, Warner Brothers were on a hot streak, all the way pretty much throughout the year. Unfortunately, their hot streak came to an end, even though the movie itself, one battle after another, probably will have a lot to say during the award season. It broke their streak at the opening weekend. I think they set the record, then they broke their own record 7-8 weeks in a row, where they had a movie open to $40 million or more at the opening weekend box office domestically. But then after, one battle after another came out, that was also, October, if I remember correctly, or November. So Warner Brothers didn't have a lot to say at the box office after, because then they didn't really have any more movies to put out there. Disney did. In fact, right now, two of the biggest movies in the world are Disney movies. You guys, Zootopia 2.
Yeah,
and then
Elio and Tron Ares are flops, but Zootopia is going to be the highest grossing
Zootopia
movie
2
of
and
the
Avatar.
Year. And Avatar might be not too far behind, so... Yeah, it's a Fox movie, but at the same time...
I mean, well, it's 20th Century Studios owned by Disney now.
It's still 20th Century Studios, still owned by Disney,
So, John, look at the numbers here, right? Warner Brothers, you could say, got out to the early lead because Disney had, flops like Monique was saying. Because even before Elio and Tron Ares, they had Snow White, which really flopped earlier in the year. Captain America, Brave New World really underperformed. And then, even when you look at Fantastic Four, didn't make as much money as people expected. Thunderbolts did well. It was probably the best rated movie of the three Marvel movies, but not, your usual Marvel box office from the peak of Marvel's prime, which we'll get into a little bit more. But the numbers are on the screen here. I'm just going to read them out really quickly. Paramount coming in pretty much at the bottom of the pile, the global number, $1.41 billion. Then you got Sony after that, 1.47. Of course, Sony didn't have a single Spider-Man movie, so I think this year they'll do a lot better because they do have one of those on the calendar. Universal, I think, probably expected to do better, but, Wicked for Good definitely didn't make it nearly as much money as the first one did. So they made 3.89 billion. So they just got close to the 4 billion, but not quite there. But then when you get to Warner Brothers, who are in the process of being bought out by Netflix right now, and potentially with Paramount having still something to say about it, they were the second highest, 4.4 billion. I think in terms of consistency, definitely probably more consistent than Disney, because you can see Disney's number, even though that got almost 7 billion, 6.56 billion, far and away, over $2 billion more than the next, one down from that, Warner Brothers. Disney still got a lot of that, money from 2-3 movies. Half of that comes from pretty much Zootopia. It comes from Avatar. And then if you add up the Marvel movies, that's another 1.5 or 1 billion, more or less, more than 1 billion. But so Disney, despite some high profile flops, still managed to, blow away every other studio. And then when you look at the domestic and international, John, the order of operations are still pretty much the same. They all kind of rank similarly. It's not like one studio did really well internationally and then did, really badly domestically. Are you surprised by any of these numbers? You can see that the balance is there, and consistently Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, those were your big three, and then Sony and Paramount kind of coming in at the back of the pack.
And then after Netflix buys Warner Brothers, it's going to be doing Paramount numbers. So, I don't think it's even going to make $1 billion. So, that's just, that's... Because Netflix hates money, apparently, but we'll get into that soon enough.
We will talk about that later. Don't you worry. I mean, look, Sony's gonna have their Spider-Man movie this year, which hopefully will give them a big boost, maybe double that number from last year. And MovieSpot saw One Battle After Another yesterday. I actually saw it again yesterday, and that movie is haunting in several ways. I was impressed by it, and maybe not necessarily blown away by it, but I think some of it is because of subject matter, and so I think it does the job that it sets out to do, because it's very it hits close to home in the sense that it feels very close to the world we live in, unfortunately, which is the point. But anyway, I digress. John, if you scroll down a little bit here, they talk about in these charts the box office comparison in terms of the overall number for the domestic box office over the course of the last, I think, 15 years. And you could see here the numbers looked very different all the way till 2020, which you guys all know, that's when the pandemic hit, right? We went from getting 120 movies in 2019, which included Avengers Endgame, to 34, literally 75% fewer movies coming out in 2020 during the pandemic. And it looks like that long road to recovery hasn't quite gotten there yet, because while 2025 was slightly better than 2024 and slightly less than 2023, you could see that the last 3 years, 2023, 24, 25, while they've all crossed the $8 billion mark, none of them have gone anywhere close to the 10, 11 billion. If you can zoom into this, we can kind of look at the exact numbers a little bit better. But John, the peak of the MCU era, the 2010s, you look at that from 2010 to literally from 2010 to 2019, pretty much none of those years had less than $10 billion at the box office. And the 5 years before the pandemic, all 5 successive years hit 11 billion at the box office. And since then, we have not gotten, anywhere close to that. Last year got to almost 9 billion. 2023 crossed that number. That's still the high mark. Your thoughts on this? And then we'll kind of transition into talking about what we can expect this year in a second. But just as a maybe put a period on this for last year, your expectations, how long do you think is going to take for us to get back to that number from, I'm not saying necessarily 2019 number, but you could see the average, it was at least 10 billion a year. Now we can't even seem to hit, be able to cross 9 billion for the last 3, 4, 5 years. How much longer might it take for us to get back there, if that is even possible?
I don't think we're ever going to get back there. Especially because, again, they trained people to wait for streaming. Netflix buying Warner Brothers. We're never going to reach those numbers again. Once the deal for Netflix goes through, which I think will be around 2027, 2028, it's going to... I don't think it's going to chop it in half, but we're going to be at the range of like 8 to 9 billion. Once that happens, we're going to be like 6 to 7 billion. We're going to be in those 2022 numbers until somebody grows a brain cell that theatrical is the way to go still, or, you know, movie theater companies are just going to be a thing of the past within the next 5 years. So obviously we'll see. So I think I just don't think we're ever going to reach those numbers. We're never going to reach 11 billion ever again. We're never going to reach 10 billion ever again. We'll for the next couple of years, we're maybe going to see 8 to 9, and then I don't think we're going to reach 6 billion after that acquisition and after, you know, streaming becomes the way to go. And because now it's going to be, you know, it's going to be it's going to be it's just not going to be the same. It's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, like this feels like, if we go off the trend the last few years, this feels more permanent. Like this change is here to stay, unfortunately. But we'll talk about, maybe when we get to talking about 2026 of the movies, you know, maybe there's some hope. Maybe there is some hope after all. But let's keep on going here. If you go to the next article, because now we were talking about the domestic box office numbers, but here they did a review on Deadline, basically doing a similar report. We were looking at the Hollywood Reporter just a minute ago, and this is more of the global number. The global box office was estimated to finish at 33.5 billion. That's pretty much where it's going to finish. So just shy of 34 billion. And overall, you look at that collage of movies they showcased there, from Neja to, which, you know, if you take the number in at the box office at face value, is the highest grossing animated movie of all time. Avatar, the Fire and Ash, is still playing up. It's about to cross $1 billion at the box office this weekend. We'll talk about that more. And then anime, like, you know, Demon Slayer, like, completely came in and blew movies away. Superman ultimately finished 10th in the worldwide box office race. I remember when, you know, we were getting just past the summer box office season, like, you know, getting into August and such, and Fantastic Four was finishing its run. We were like, ooh, you know, F1 is gonna pass Superman now, and it did. F1 passed it by, and then Demon Slayer came in and set some records and passed it on by. And then, you know, we have had a few other movies like Avatar and Zootopia come in and obviously, you know, enter very much at the top of the pile. So ultimately, you know, Superman was only at number 10 in the highest grossing movies of the year. Now, this is that particular report, you know, I don't think it counts Neja 2 that I'm referencing. But even if you do include it, like, Superman is just barely in there, if at all. In fact, Superman was the only superhero movie that was in the top 10 worldwide. There was no Marvel movie for the first time since 2020, which was, you know, when the pandemic started. There was no Marvel movie in the top 10 highest grossing movies of the year, which is kind of wild to think about. Like, that's just... To me, it blew my mind. I don't know if you guys saw that anywhere, but that was pretty crazy. But we talked about, of course, Disney had an up and down year, but you could see Disney just has more product. They have more movies to put out in the theaters, and they had still, their highs were a lot higher than most other studios. Their lows were a little bit lower, but still their average ended up being much higher. And while Warner Brothers was, I think, the epitome of consistency throughout the year, Disney, obviously, you know, doing Disney-like things. In fact, if you look at Disney's number, we talked about the domestic box office, it's pretty similar to the, you know, some of the peak years that they had in the 2010s. So you guys let us know in the comments which of the studios, you know, ultimately won out, both in terms of the quality as well as, you know, the quantity in terms of the money that they made. Because you talked about Disney won the money battle, you know, by far, and Warner Brothers coming in second. But who do you think overall had the best output? Because that's the kind of thing we'll talk about more with Warner Brothers and Netflix. How is that going to affect the industry at large? Is it going to be an issue where if all of a sudden Warner Brothers movies are only there for a couple of weeks in the theaters before they come out and go straight to Netflix or HBO Max, is that going to really destroy the box office? We'll get into that a little bit later, but I would love to know what you guys thought about last year. I mean, Warner Brothers didn't even make F1, but, you know, they marketed the movie, distributed it, and clearly did one hell of a job with it. So, and then Mission Impossible, you know, wrapped up its run until Tom Cruise decides to come back. But, that was a little underwhelming. So there was a lot of like, ups and downs at the box office. But let's keep on going here, John. If you want to go to the next article, I just wanted to go through, what last year kind of means overall, big picture. And like Tony was saying, the quality was scattered. But I think Monique, if you're still watching live, you mentioned we were live last few days ago, the last show of 2025. You were talking about how last year now, because now we're in 2026, there were times in the calendar where there seemed to be gaps, and then and that's something we kind of got used to for a few years, because during the pandemic, obviously everything was shut down. There were like literally a fraction of the movies that even played. And then the years since, as things start to open up, we just still didn't have a lot of movies coming out. And there was multiple reasons, because you had the strikes, you obviously had the after effects of the pandemic, and then that created backlogs for VFX production houses and post-production movies. Like Mission Impossible got delayed, Top Gun Maverick got delayed, plenty of other movies got delayed. Even Marvel movies like shifted several times. So but by the time we get to 2025, the idea was, John, and I think here Monique is saying, I think the 40th anniversary of Labyrinth is coming. I would like to see it. Good point. But for the first few months of the year were very slow. And then we talked about how in the fall, once we get past like August, September and October, especially September, felt like there was nothing to see in movies. I'm not saying there wasn't anything to see, but there weren't any of those big movies that bring in the crowd and then that has a trickle down effect. Like you go see a really good big movie that you're looking forward to, and then you go see like two other ones that you feel like, oh, I was interested in that, and I had fun watching, I don't know, Fantastic Four, so maybe I'll go watch, the next one. Like maybe I'll go see Smashing Machine. I'm a fan of The Rock. But if you never made it out to the theater for the Smashing Machine, like for Fantastic Four, or you didn't have a movie like Fantastic Four to watch, you're less likely to be, led on to watch Smashing Machine or any of the other prestige movies that all, flopped. There were a lot of these big Oscar like buzz kind of movies that just didn't make any money. And this article here in the wrap is a really good read. You guys are welcome to go search for this on Google. If the boom and bust of 2025's box office is the new normal, theaters could be in trouble. Now, like I said, John, we are 5 years after the pandemic now. Since the pandemic, caused movies to pretty much, shut down. Like we had a fraction of the movies coming out and they didn't even play for very long. We live in a new reality, a reality where Netflix is looking to buy Warner Brothers. And somehow, even though a lot of people expected that 2025 we would have a more consistent output where theaters would still be getting, big movies roughly throughout not saying that you need to have an Avatar caliber or an Avengers caliber or a big DC movie every few weeks. But usually what you would see like in the, the 2010s is whether it was September or February, like even those months that aren't traditionally big movie months, like the summer box office or the holiday season and like we just went through, or even our right now Christmas season. Even in those months, you would usually have, a big horror movie coming out. And that anchors a weekend, and then you have like a big comedy thing, or you have a big action, like maybe a John Wick comes out, and like you have movies that sort of bring the people to the theaters, and then you have smaller, counter programming movies, some indie movies that people can go see as well. You have indie darlings that might break out and stuff like that. Like Marty Supreme did it during Christmas season. We got Stacy in the chat. Hello. But like this year, for example, we'll talk about it later, and thank you, Eugene, for pointing it out. Like it seems like we're gonna maybe get back to that in 2026, but do you think that 2025, like what we saw, is gonna be the new normal? Because I thought we were all past this backlog of by the way, hello Jalen, this backlog of VFX studios not being able to finish shots on time. I thought we were past, the effects of the strike and the pandemic. So do you think, John, that given how 2025 went, that we are still going to see, and maybe it's because Netflix might take more of those Warner Brothers movies out of theaters faster, that there will still be gaps in the calendar, and that there will still be times of the year where we're like, we want to do one movie review a week on the show and we can't even like think of a good movie to talk about. Like, is that going to be the case moving forward?
Probably. It's most likely. I mean, there are people that I know that are like championing streaming, that are almost championing the death of the movie theater because of, the etiquette of people, and it's just like really the etiquette of some people doesn't truly ruin my experience mostly. I've seen kids climbing on seats and I still manage to fucking enjoy a movie, so I think that has more to say about certain people than the movie going experience. But for me, it's just like it's almost become, and it's funny because the complete opposite. Like when I'm in a movie, like when I'm in a theater, it's just so much better. It's just like it's dark. You can't pause. You are forced to pay attention, which is the best case for me because I'm, short attention span, fidgety, kind of not paying attention a lot of the time. So, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. And so they see the theater experience as a way to get this movie as it was envisioned rather than, oh, I'm going to pause, I'm going to go get a snack, I got to go take a shit, I got to go jerk off, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, that ruins the experience. Like, I don't mind watching movies at home, but, like, movies I've seen before, like, I don't even remember the last time I saw a movie, whether it's a new release or just simply a movie I hadn't seen before, at home. I genuinely don't remember. The last movie I saw at home was a movie I'd seen before. It was The Holdovers, and that was like the newest like movie. Obviously, I've seen other like It's a Wonderful Life, Die Hard, stuff like that. But in terms of like that's like the newest movie I saw, but I had seen it before, and it's just like obviously I can sacrifice a little bit of the okay, I have to go up, gotta go to the bathroom, pause it. But the thing is, I had experienced that before. I had experienced that fully in the way it was supposed to be, and it just like it feels like imagine watching fucking like again, like fucking Ted. I remember, I think it was Ted Sarandos that says like, "Oh yeah, my son's an editor. He watched Lawrence of Arabia on his phone." I'm like, that's not the flex you think it is, you dumb fuck. Like, are you kidding me? That just goes to show that not only are you an idiot, but your son's an idiot and probably a shitty editor. So it just like I'm. Like, it boggles my mind that people are championing this kind of thing. I mean, Liz doesn't even watch movies at home. She's like, I refuse, like, because it's just so much harder for me to watch movies at home because I have too many distractions, and that takes away from the experience. I feel like there are so many movies I've watched at home that I feel like I could have given like a better score, like I could have liked it better if I saw it in a movie theater. That's why, for instance, I went to go see Kill Bill in the movie theater, not just because it was the whole bloody affair. I hadn't seen it before, so I'm like, let me see it in the way Quentin Tarantino envisioned, not just for volume 1 and 2 smashed together, but the way that all movies are supposed to be showcased in a theater. Now, if I'm desperate, I will watch a movie at home. I'll find a way. But, like, I remember, this was months ago when I was watching, like, I couldn't go to the theater, so I had to watch a movie at home, and it took me, like, an entire day to watch, like, a 90-minute movie, and it's like, that's ridiculous. Like, it just, you have too many distractions, and it just takes away from that experience, and it's sad that fucking people who are, owning these companies, who are creating these monopolies, don't realize that and think that, like, convenience is the way to go when usually convenience is like junk food. It sucks. It's like, is streaming bad? Not all of it, but it's a stepping stone or a slippery slope, however you want to call it, to a worse future and it's frankly a future I don't want to be a part of.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I know a lot of people agree with you. I mean, but not everybody, right? Because Netflix wouldn't have as many subscribers if there weren't a lot of people going to see these movies, or just waiting to see them at home. But by the way, I did want to wish the very best to Tony. He's not been feeling well of late, so Tony, hope you feel better soon. Give your best to Tony in the live chat or in the comments. Steven asking how many months till Supergirl. I think we are now about 6 months away. you know, just a little over 6 months, 6.5 months roughly. So that's exciting, and we'll talk about more of Supergirl later. I did want to point out real quickly though, John, because they did also mention in this article, and I don't we don't have to spend too much time on this. Part of the reason why they're talking about in the wrap here that a lot of those big, adult skewing, the kind of movies that people associate with like, Oscar caliber movies, like The Smashing Machine, and then like there was a few other. I keep using The Smashing Machine as the example, but there's obviously a lot of other ones. Like there's Hamnet, there's Song Sung Blue, which is out recently, even Marty Supreme, I mean, which is doing really well. So that's actually not necessarily the best example, um, but yeah, there's a lot of those movies, like not everything, but like the two, three different Sydney Sweeney movies that were all, awards plays. A lot of them really flop, and I think one of the reasons why, and they make a good point in the wrap here, and you tell me what you think about it. A lot of adults, especially like, when I say adults, and I'm not talking, I mean, when you could be a super fan. Like if you grew up and you are like in our bubble, like you are watching the show, you talk about movies, you live your life is movies. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about like, my girlfriend, like Fiona, like she is somebody who rarely goes to the movies, and I think now she's like, well, everything is on streaming. Who even goes to the movies as often? And I'm like, every time, that becomes an interesting conversation. But it's not even just her. Like I've heard it from other people, like people who would go and watch a movie like The Smashing Machine in the movie theater are now being conditioned, or now they're like, you know what, it's gonna be on Netflix soon, it's gonna be streaming soon. Do I really need to go to the movie theater? Like, do I really need to make the effort to go and spend $20 on a bucket of popcorn that I'm not gonna even finish, and then $10 on like a soda that I'm, gonna need to then go use the bathroom and miss 10 minutes of the movie, or like drive to the movie theater rather than sitting at home? And I'm not like trying to like pass judgment on them. I'm like, to each their own. And I'm not saying one thing is wrong or the other. Like that's not the reason I'm bringing it up. I'm just saying, with how things are today, it's created this knock-on effect where, while the Marvel movies aren't doing as well, and like even Avatar, Fire and Ash might not make $2 billion, it has a knock-on effect on those smaller movies, especially those like indie movies, or like movies that are like those really small mid-budget movies that have started to really disappear, like rom-coms and like comedies. And while we have talked about like the theatrical experience is unique in the sense that, yeah, it's a communal experience, but
I think it's safe to say that theater screens are a little bit bigger than 65 inches. Just saying,
right?
But
well, and again, we've talked about the technology, right? Like but it's also the thing of, John, you and I, like, we value the theatrical experience in a different way than somebody who's not like a movie nerd, let's say, right?
Yes.
Like who might just be okay with watching, let's say When Harry Met Sally. That's a big, Rob Reiner, rest in peace. That was one of his great movies. Like a movie like When Harry Met Sally comes out today, people are like, that's a perfect Netflix
Clint Eastwood
movie
from Gran Torino, fucking calm
like
down.
it's like that, those kind of movies. But the point I'm trying to make, like those kind of movies, even The Hangover, if that came out today, people would be like, that's more of a streaming movie, and that's a more adult oriented movie in the sense that it's not really made for kids. Like it's made for adults to watch, and not as many people would go to see it, to the point where they will do multiple Hangover movies, because they'll be just like, oh, I'll just wait till it's on HBO Max or Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, Hulu. It's only going to be like a few weeks. Do you think that trickle down effect is only going to get worse as now, because like China's already feeling the effects of this, like, and we'll talk about it more later, but
even though that like certain theater chains have been pushing for a 45-day release window, it's just like the fact, again, we're gonna get, even though it's only a quick, we're gonna get into it with the whole what Netflix wants, and it's just like the idea that nobody is gonna see, like, unless you're a big movie theater nerd, unless you're a big movie nerd, big cinephile, like now no one is going to see Warner Brothers movies in theaters unless it's DC. But even then, people are already hating on this new DCU, so they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna wait till streaming.
Yeah,
like now movie theaters are, and the thing is, if that model is successful, which I don't know if it will be, we'll see. I hope it's not, but who knows? if that 17-day window allegedly is going to be successful, then everybody else is going to Universal, they have Peacock. Paramount, they have Paramount Plus. Who else? Sony has a deal with a lot of people, but they're mainly Netflix. And then whoever the fuck else has a streaming service, it's just gonna now, it's like we finally made this big step into like keeping shit in theaters for longer. Now Netflix is just gonna absolutely fucking nuke that. And now it's probably gonna dwindle until like the most we're gonna get from theaters is like a couple of movies here and there. It's just gonna be superhero cinemas. Like that's what it's gonna be, because that's the only things that can survive in theaters now. You're not gonna get any comedies or action movie or anything. You're just gonna get those movies, and then by like the end of like the 2030s, if we're being nice, isn't going to be movie theaters unless it's like small art house movies that can survive on like little rinky dink kind of re-releases and whatnot. So it's just that, because like now it's like we were on the up and up, we were on the way to be better, and now with Warner Brothers getting bought out, it's gonna fucking nuke the movie theater industry even more so than it has already been nuked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also, I think, just like Monique was saying, like, movie going was more of a cultural thing and not just an event thing. Like, you want to go see big event movies even now. Like, people showed up to Stranger Things in huge droves. We'll talk about that later for the finale. But that's different than going to the movies in the afternoon, like Monique was saying. Like she used to get dropped off with her sister, and then her mom would drop them off at the double matinees, and they were pretty cheap. Like you go in the afternoon, you watch a couple of movies in the summer. Like it's just, but kids don't do that anymore because they have, I mean, A, they have a lot of other options, but B, it's just not culturally as relevant a thing to do because you could just see movies on streaming. And like MTG is saying, like streaming is really killed the repeat viewing of a lot of movies. Like movies used to stay in theaters for months and months, and they would get a second life because like all of a sudden a month after the movie came out, it's like all of it has a resurgence for some reason. Nowadays movies aren't even playing in theaters for that long most of the times, and not just the big ones, like the small ones will disappear on you, or they will just scale back. So for the people who live in the big metropolitan areas, they might have more options. But then, you know, most people don't live in New York or LA or Atlanta or, you know, Dallas or like these, or Houston. A lot of those people, like, you know, Seattle, Chicago, like they will not have access to a big movie theater, a big multiplex. They might only have one with like 5 screens, and they have to make choices. Then they're more likely to play the bigger movies, and the smaller movies just come and go pretty quickly. So that accessibility goes away because the demand isn't there, and then now it just becomes like a feedback loop. So anyway, but yeah, we will get into the 17-day rumor. I think it's a little overblown to kind of give you guys a preview of it, but we'll talk about it later. John, one other thing I wanted to look at before we finish up our review of the 2025 year at the movies. If you go to this next article here, I mentioned this, like, I don't know if it was earlier this week or last week, certainly recently, that there's been this subtle and yet noticeable, and I don't know how noticeable just yet. Maybe we'll see, you know, by the time we get to the Oscars, or Oscars so white again, but there's been this noticeable decline in diversity of talent, both in front of and behind the camera. I don't know if it's a matter of it never quite got better, you know, but we had a big outcry, you know, a number of years ago. The pandemic happened, and things have changed a lot. Obviously, the political climate of the U.S. it probably has a part to play in it. But you look at reports like this. We talked about Simu Liu, like, has been saying a lot that he just hasn't been offered the kind of roles that, you know, some of his other Marvel co-stars who have let their own movies in the MCU have gone on to do. Does that have to do with him as an actor? Does that have to do with the fact that he's an Asian actor? Like, and then not even that. We talked about how there were fewer, you know, showrunners of color running shows than in a long time on the TV side of things last year. There was a report. Now, this here headline talks about films directed by women dropped to a 7-year low in 2025, according to a study, the annual Annenberg Inclusion Initiative report out of USC, the University of Southern California, found that only 9 women directors worked on the top 100, the 100 top grossing films of the year. John, like in a time when James Cameron is going to defend his, one of his, ex-wives and her movie, which isn't even a theatrical movie, on Netflix. We'll talk about that in the quick hits. And he's obviously a big, proponent of movies in general, especially theatrical. But there just seems to be like, are we kind of like going backwards in a lot of ways? Because like, shouldn't there be in 2025, like Catherine Bigelow? Sorry, I couldn't place the name. Thank you, Tony. But like, shouldn't in 2025 we have more female directors, more just in general diversity as a whole, both in front of and behind the cameras? But specifically to this, to me, this feels like a step backwards. I mean, do you think this is a trend? Do you think this is the odd, year 2025? Maybe we'll get a lot more representation this year. Like, what do you think is going on here?
I think it's just because I think we're at a place, not a very good one, of you have these veterans that can't work in proper fields, and then like, here's the thing, you have a lot of, like, again, Catherine Bigelow, Chloe Zhao, they have good movies, but the thing is, they're not making these big budget blockbusters that make billions or millions of dollars, and people kind of have to be wary of that too. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be directing big budget blockbusters, but it's just, I think it's just like, kind of like, where do we stand in terms of, like, just because they didn't work on big budget movies doesn't mean that there were none. So that's the thing I'm, like, curious about. Like, obviously, it still stinks. It's still, they should have equal opportunity and all that. But, it's, but I think there's a lot of factors. I don't want to get into stuff now because I don't want to make it political. But,
Yeah.
I think there is some.
Well, if you scroll down in this article,
factors.
like if you scroll down in this article, I just wanted to kind of go over a couple of things they point out. If you could zoom in a little bit, we'll read through and a little bit further down, because I mean, while they point out in this article, it doesn't have as much to do with the politics of the moment, because a lot of these decisions, because look, movies don't happen overnight, right? A lot of the movies that came out last year were in the works before we knew the result of the election from 2024. And if you scroll down here a little bit more, John, I just wanted to kind of go through the last few paragraphs in this article where they essentially talk about how, and I'll read the part of the article that I want to talk about briefly here. So let me see if I can pull this up. So in the study, it says, which looked at racial diversity, found that 24.3% of directors of the top grossing films were from underrepresented racial groups of 2025's top 100 grossing films, meaning only about a quarter. Women of color made 5.4% of the directors, while 2.7% were white women, marking the first year since the start of the report that women of color have outnumbered white women as top grossing film directors. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to look at that as a sign of progress. But then Disney led the studios in the hiring of women directors across the 2025 movies. Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, and Lionsgate did not have a woman director across the films evaluated in the study. The Annenberg study does not include streaming-only releases on Netflix or other platforms, noting that the representation of women directors on these titles is much higher than in top-grossing theatrical releases. Across this 2024 slate, women accounted for 20.5% of the directors of Netflix movies. Hey, props to Netflix. And, like Disney leading the way, hiring women directors for 2025 as a whole, for theatrical movies as well. So, I mean, look, to me, what this says is that we clearly need to provide more opportunities. And I think Monique was mentioning this earlier. The idea is there's fewer opportunities to begin with because there's fewer movies being made. And then they specifically pointed out that there's not as many big, box office tent poles that you look at, blockbusters that are, being supported by, that are being directed by female directors. Meanwhile, they have a bigger, representation on streaming movies. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because studios are just not taking those chances on female directors on the bigger movies. And I feel like that's where, and this is my opinion only, but I feel like with Chloe Zhao, for example, Eternals was not a good movie. She just came off directing an Oscar-winning Best Picture film, and then went and directed Eternals, but I felt like that disproportionately affected her because of the microscope that is, the Marvel, spotlight puts on you. And then also from there, I mean, she's talked about her personal struggles, and then, trying to break through as a female director in Hollywood is hard enough as it is. So, those all factors like add up to, like, she did not direct another big movie till Hamnet this past year. And so Chloe Zhao is just one example of many other ones where you just don't see that same level of representation. Like Patty Jenkins had multiple movies fall through over the course of, 18 months post Wonder Woman 1984. And I feel like female directors are, for whatever reason, and I feel some of this has to be like, sexist Hollywood kind of poking its head through still, like progress is slow and we're just, not there yet. And it may take a lot longer, where like those female directors are more disproportionately affected by movies that don't quite succeed. Like, for example, John, Patty Jenkins directed a banger of a Wonder Woman movie, and then under, very, very, tough circumstances, like, say what you will about the movie itself, but it did not help that Wonder Woman 1984 came out during the pandemic, and it got released on HBO Max day and date. And overall, I think all of those factors adding on to the fact that the movie wasn't as good as the first one, I feel like that then like wiped out like 3 other projects she had going on. Not only did they not move forward with Wonder Woman 3, which partly was probably because they rebooted the universe, but also remember she was going to do the Star Wars movie that fell through. I forget if she's still doing a Cleopatra movie or not, like if that's wherever that is.
I don't think so.
Like all of those big projects she had lined up, right? So, no. Whereas, John, Andy Muschietti directed a Flash movie that lost literally hundreds of millions of dollars for Warner Brothers, and then James Gunn comes in.
I'm pretty sure it was $1 billion.
It was it? Okay.
I think it was.
Are you sure? But okay, well, it was hundreds of millions of dollars. It lost, a lot more money lost. The Flash lost a lot more money for Warner Brothers than Wonder Woman 1984, and yet Andy Muschietti gets almost immediately in the aftermath of that, the new DCU gets attached to direct a next, like, I think an upgrade, the new DCU Batman film, Batman Brave and the Bold. So it's that thing, and I'm not saying, look, it's hard to compare, like, it's not apples to apples, experience, your resume, a lot of those things play up, but I'm just giving an example of, like, Andy Muschietti didn't take nearly as much of a hit from The Flash that Patty Jenkins did from Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984, I suppose.
And it also didn't help that it was released during a pandemic, so, that didn't help matters either. So, it stinks, it's like a whole, like the notes are there, and and it's not to be, like kind of like what's the word, glossed over,
yeah.
And because, like, look at other, Kathy Yan, another female director in the DCEU, had Birds of Prey. It stunk.
Good point.
Literally 6 years it took her to make another, because I literally just looked it up. She's coming out with a movie called The Gallerist this year, and Birds of Prey was 6 years ago. Again, another pandemic movie, but still a movie nonetheless. And it just so happens, like, Kathy Ann, why doesn't she get, like, the Wonder Woman movie? Like, why does she get, thrown aside? Well, this dumb fuck who doesn't know how to use CGI correctly gets a show and a chance at Batman, even though he couldn't give less of a fuck about Batman. It's like, what is the world we're living in? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's and that's a pretty stark example. And I'm not, again, those aren't two exact same scenarios, but if you look at it like big
but
picture,
I'm just saying, like, it's noticeable enough.
Yeah, it is noticeable enough. Like certainly, like one because you look at it at least on the surface, and even go a little bit past that. Yeah, the Flash lost way more money, and you could say, oh, maybe the that Andy Muschietti kind of came in on in a movie that was a mess, and then he rewrote the script. But like, yeah, so Patty Jenkins also was one of the writers on Wonder Woman 84, and then so they were both almost equally involved. Uh, yeah, it's just it's wild. I mean, look, we're not here to solve this. We can't solve these problems. I think we can just provide commentary and opinions. You guys let us know what you think. But the year as a whole, 2025, was very up and down. I mean, ultimately they still ended up bringing in, at the box office close to $9 billion, but it's not anywhere close to where we were in the 2010s. So hopefully this year, 2026, will be better. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can talk about in terms of just the inequality from it, both in front and behind the camera, whether it's women of color, white women, just people of color, just overall diversity. And yeah, I mean, 3 directors and 3 studio heads over 10 years, darkly there, all good points. But yeah, this is why I'm really rooting for Greta Gerwig's Narnia adaptation coming out this year, which Netflix is going to give a month-long exclusive IMAX release. But speaking of 2026, Sean, let's talk about the movies this year and look ahead to what 2026 might be like by starting and talking about what 2025 ended up with, which is of course Avatar Fire and Ash at the top of the box office, going into its 3rd weekend. It is firmly on its way to making $1 billion worldwide in about 3 weeks time
right now.
It's going to go past it probably by Saturday at this rate, if not by the end of the day Friday. So all of that said, John, New Year's Day was pretty epic in the US. All pictures combined hit $48 million plus, which was a post-COVID pandemic record. So it still looks like, when there's movies out there, it's that we keep saying it. If you build it, they will come. And people came out to see these movies. If you scroll down, we can look at what was on offer in addition to Avatar Fire and Ash. Of course, we had Zootopia 2 playing. You talked about at the top of the show, Marty Supreme is out there. You look at The Housemaid is still doing good money. Anaconda is there. You got David, which is, more of a...
Anaconda is there. That's the most you could say about Anaconda.
Well, yeah, I mean, but then you got Song Sung Blue, which I think is doing surprisingly well, even though it started off weak. The new SpongeBob movies is still there. Wicked for Good is still in the top 10. And even Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which not a lot of people liked, still there. Oh, hello, Fiona. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us in the live chat. She's sending all those members exclusive emojis, which you guys can get if you get the membership to the channel. It doesn't show up on the screen, but if you look on the YouTube chat, there's the little Vin Diesel doing this at you, family. But anyway, John, your thoughts overall at the idea, again, you build it, they'll come. You look at the top 10 of the movies, there's plenty of not only big movies, but also a lot of awards contenders and everything in between. And, they're just all doing really well. I mean, from top to bottom, you got every movie you could say something good about in terms of like the success of the film and about the quality of the movie as well. Not every single one of these is a great movie, but like Marty Supreme could win a couple of Oscars, and Avatar Fire and Ash could still be the highest grossing movie of the year. So your thoughts on, I mean, is it still like a viable theatrical landscape, like overall, like people are still going to see the movies?
For now. And then Ted Sarandos is like, hey, that's a nice movie theater industry you have there. It'd be a shame if somebody fucking ruined it.
Yeah. Well, we're doing a lot of heavy foreshadowing, but speaking of foreshadowing, looking ahead to the year of the movies, 2026, John, if you go to the next article, let's talk about quickly, what are we to expect from the box office overall? We just mentioned in our last segment talking about how 2025, they thought it was going to hit 9 billion. They thought it was going to, beat the high mark.
We swear it's going to be 9 billion. We swear.
Yeah.
Although, this has more at least to go on because you have an Avengers movie, you have Dune 3, How You Dune, you got a Star Wars movie, you got a sequel to a $1 billion franchise movie with Mario. You have Spider-Man. You have so much stuff. You have Supergirl. You have fucking Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. You have a lot more. I feel a lot more IP that'll maybe push it to 9 billion. That'll definitely be killing it. So,
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more of those bigger movies. You could see like big franchise tentpoles, and a lot more sequels and spin-offs. Oh yeah, Monday is my birthday. Thanks for letting that out. Maybe we'll have a little party on the show, Tony. Mortal Kombat. That's not even on the collage there on screen. That's another one I'm looking forward to. And then of course, nobody's getting a Kool-Aid movie this year, but maybe Martin Scorsese will think twice about going to Seth Rogen's fictional movie studio with a script next time. If you know, you know. But John, again, the big thing is $9 billion. How confident do you feel this year that if you had to put an over under on it, do you think it's gonna be easy to just easy 9 billion? Can we even hit 10 billion? Can we beat that high mark?
We're gonna hit 10 billion, but 9 billion. I think like it'll again similar to this year. It'll either get very very close or finally hit that $9 billion mark. But yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening.
Yeah. And we mentioned, of course, there's going to be much more of those bigger movies per se, but the biggest one might be a Marvel movie, which certainly wasn't the case last year. Speaking of Avengers, John, let's go over to our next article because this is another one of those, analysis pieces on the wrap, looking back at 2025, looking ahead at 2026. And they were saying, and they're making an argument, and I want to get your take on this. By the way, The Legend of Zelda is 2027. So that's early 2027. So we just got to wait a little bit longer, Fiona, but we'll get there soon enough. But as far as 2026 goes, John, in this wrap article, they make the argument that Marvel might have been in the end game in terms of phase, was it phase 3, Avengers Endgame, in the in-universe Endgame, but in the real world, Marvel Studios is in the end game now. Why? Because this year is literally, a boom or bust year. Because they have now put Spider-Man and the Avengers, the two biggest things Marvel has to offer. And they give us some numbers in this article, and we don't need to go through the exact specifics. But outside of Spider-Man Homecoming, none of the Avengers movies and none of the other Spider-Man movies in the MCU have made less than $1 billion. In fact, none of them have made less than, anywhere close to less than $1 billion. Those are the two Marvel movies coming out this year. If those two movies underperform, what chance does Marvel have with doing another Captain America movie in the future like they did last year? What chance do they have of doing another new Avengers or Thunderbolts movie in the future? What chance does any other Marvel movie, what chance does Marvel have of introducing another Shang-Chi level character in the future? If Avengers Doomsday and Spider-Man Brand New Day don't, make the kind of money that they're expecting it to make. Your thoughts on this? Do you feel like this year really is that, boom or bust year for Marvel where they might be in the end game? Because interesting fact, it's true, Disney has not given a release date to Black Panther 3. They have not given a release date to the next X-Men movie. We don't have any Marvel movie on the release calendar for the next few years beyond Avengers Secret Wars. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Do you think that if Marvel really doesn't, if for example, they get the kind of results that Batman v Superman did for the DCEU, which again, I'm not saying it makes less than $1 billion, but the Batman versus Superman was expected to make probably $1.5 billion, or at least make $1 billion. It didn't. I think with Doomsday and the level of marketing they're doing with Spider-Man Brand New Day, they're expecting these movies to make a 1.5, maybe even close to $2 billion, if not more. If they don't get anywhere close to those numbers, is that going to affect how Marvel operates, how much money Disney gives Marvel, how much, freedom Kevin Feige has to operate in the future? Because DC on DC Studios side is already operating on seemingly shoestring budgets relative to Marvel with Clayface at 40 million or less. But Marvel still gets to spend 150, 200 million a movie. Is that going to change if the movies this year don't perform well because simply they're just not making as much money as they used to?
Maybe, maybe they'll finally learn something if, I wouldn't say they're not going to flop, but maybe, I can see that Avengers Doomsday might not make $1 billion. I could see Spider-Man Brand New Day not making $1 billion with how, the brand loyalty has diminished. Are people still excited? Yes. Will they make $1 billion? Maybe. It's more likely than not, but, I think I just think that there's enough. There is enough going against both of those for reasons we've talked about that they might not.
Yeah. You know what? Let me point out something interesting that I saw. So remember last week or maybe even earlier this week we were talking about how Warner Brothers is considering keeping, or at least as of right now, they're going to keep Dune Prophecy. What is the next one? Dune Messiah?
Dune Messiah.
Basically the third Dune movie. They're looking to keep that on the same release date as Avengers Doomsday. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, but Dune has the IMAX screens, meaning Avengers Doomsday will not be playing in IMAX for that opening weekend where Dune will be doing that. So and that will have a knock-on effect in following weeks. So basically the two movies have to share, at the very least, share the IMAX screen real estate, but then that probably means other premium formats like Dolby or I don't know, like Screen X and stuff like that. How much do you think that will play into lowering potentially the box office take ultimately of Avengers Doomsday? Not to mention Spider-Man Brand New Day won't have IMAX and the premium screens, especially IMAX in the summer because the Odyssey will have it. So both of these movies, both Marvel movies will be up against some really stiff competition, and I think like they'll have exclusivity for Dune for a lot of the opening couple week or two, and then for the Odyssey, we know Brand New Day is not really gonna get any IMAX play because by the time it gets any IMAX screens, it will be already in its fourth or fifth week. So how much of an effect do you think that will have? Can that be, especially if these movies, because again, it has to be probably, it's like, whenever some kind of big crash happens or some kind of big thing, some big disaster happens, it's usually a chain of events leading up to it. And for Marvel to have a disastrous year with those two, movies with Spider-Man and Avengers, chances are it's not going to be just the fact that they don't have the IMAX screens. But imagine if the movies don't quite hit as well as they're expected to. Like the reaction isn't as universally, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I am going to orgasm in the movie theater the fifth time I see the movie. If that's not the reaction, if the critics are not raving about it quite the way that Marvel used to have that happen, and then they're also not playing in those bigger screens, do you think that will have, as a whole, like the effect of these movies missed their mark, and now you're looking at a movie that made $1.2 billion where they're expecting to make 1.8?
It's definitely a whole mess of stuff. Like, because I've said this before, like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. I'm like, it's like using their own dialogue right back at him. I want you to be better. Like, stop settling for but I understand that they're so desperate for money that they're gonna do the nostalgia bait thing. They're gonna do the, like, adding a million characters into Brand New Day to prop it up even more. But it's just like, you got a good plot? No, we got nostalgia. It's like, okay, then, like, I think we're getting to a point where that might not be enough for some people. However, it's not going to be a win until that's not enough for everyone or most people, and then they won't see the movie. But we're not at that point. I think it'll be much closer to a savior than an endgame, because I can't imagine that they don't win with both of these movies. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's just, but it is Marvel, like, I felt that Fantastic Four was kind of mid, yet everyone raved about that movie, so I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, again, a little bit of hyperbole, but I am saying there are some mitigating factors, and when you got to wonder, maybe that's why they're going so hard marketing Avengers Doomsday this early, like a year before the movie comes out, because they know they can't miss with this. Like, literally everything is riding on this, especially because it's not only about the money the movie makes and the reception it has with the audiences and the fans and the critics. It's also about, like, where the story of the MCU is, because apparently with Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're going to probably be in a completely different MCU after. So it has to work on multiple different levels, and hopefully it does. You guys let us know in the comments down below. How do you think the year 2026 is going to play out, the movies? Is Disney going to lead the way again? Is Warner Brothers going to have a repeat year of success from last year? Is Marvel going to hit on those marks? Like, you tell us what you guys think in the comments down below. And if you guys are watching live, thank you for watching live. Hit the like button while you're here, and we're going to move on, John, because now...
A great segue, because now we're talking about MCU Weekly, although it's not really weekly anymore.
Actually, no, we're not. We are...
Hot take debate? I thought that was after. My bad. Oh, no.
We're going to get to MCU Weekly later, but we got some hot takes on the way. So let's hit that hot take debate intro, and then we'll come back at you on the other side.
Who is that?
Retarded.
Retired. I'm already in the void. I'm not trying to get canceled again.
I don't like you.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
Black rubber.
Ooh, you nasty, mon beauté rouge. Les éléments temps relais, hein?
Not a single word.
You bring your scarred psyche.
I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Pathetic psychopath.
Begging for attention. You were just leaving.
Oh, no, 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 no!
No! Yeah, it's time for hot take debate. Let's dive into it. Lead the way, John. We got a few of them. You guys threw them our way. We'll see if we can knock them down.
All right. So the first one we have is from Bullseye Studio 9068. I don't know if that's someone who watches the show, and I don't know their handle or not, so we'll see. But I think it's a big mistake that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan aren't similar in age in Gunn's DCU. I don't know if I would say a big mistake, but yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like it would be kind of interesting. I think it would have been more interesting and like more comedy driven, which I think it should be, but I don't know if it will be. If like Hal Jordan had all this experience, all this stuff, and then you had like Jon Stewart, who was like in his like 40s, and then maybe Hal Jordan was in his 30s, or maybe like Jon Stewart in his 50s and like Hal Jordan in his 40s, because then like it like there's more comedy there. There's like the idea of like, well, Jon Stewart knows about life. Has more life experiences, but Hal knows more about being a Green Lantern. So he's teaching him, and then, like, Jon Stewart's like, what the fuck are you trying to teach me, bitch? Like, I've been on this earth longer than you have. The fuck? But it's just like, and I'm sure that there's still ego that could be showcased with, Jon Stewart thinks he knows the world, but really doesn't. He's only what was that line? It's
the ring will.
You're part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet, like Sam Jackson and Iron Man. And so it like I feel like that would have been better. I'm dreading it for different reasons, entirely different reasons, but not the roles where they're taking, where it's mentor, mentee, and the ages. I wouldn't say it's a big mistake. Trust me, this show's first big mistake was hiring Tom King and Damon Lindelof to executively produce and write the series. That's the big mistake. Problem one, yes. So that's the big mistake that's making. I don't think this is the big mistake, but I just think it would be more interesting if it was like reversed in terms of age, so it's funnier and also maybe more interesting to have Hal Jordan be younger and trying to teach an older guy how to be a Green Lantern. I think that's interesting.
No, yeah, I think similar is a relative term. So and I don't think it's gonna matter much. You look at the limited footage we have gone so far, they don't seem all that far apart. I don't think it's enough of an issue. And again, it depends on the story they're trying to tell. I don't think it's a problem from what we have seen so far. And despite the fact that you don't trust the guys making the show, John, ultimately James Gunn and Peter Safran put them in that position of power. And if you trust in James Gunn, then hopefully they put the right people in charge. So yeah, the story is the story. I think the age of the characters is not gonna make or break the show. It's gonna be how they're written in the show. So yeah, but hot take, sure. Is it burning hot? I don't think so, but that's a great one, Bullseye Studio. We appreciate it, and definitely send on more in the future. Let's keep on rolling.
Acres of Movies, who is I think still part of the chat.
Yeah,
The Mandalorian and Grogu will make half as much as Super Mario Brothers Galaxy. Maybe. Here's the thing. I've been going back and forth on whether this thing will be a success. Because I think, like, the super nerds who are, like, super, like, unsatisfied with Star Wars are not going to see this shit. They're going to, at most, wait till streaming because it seems like a streaming movie released in a theater. Like, I hate to use that term, especially when we were going on and on about streaming. But, like, it just has that, like, kind of TV movie vibe. But it's, like, going to be in a theater because Star Wars needs to make its grand return. And, you know, the Starfighter doesn't come out till next year. So, you know, but the thing is, there's also the idea of, like, Star Wars is still so culturally relevant and is still so widely known with people, that I can't imagine this won't make money. Considering, I don't know if Super Mario Brothers Galaxy is going to make another billion. I could see it making $1 billion, but, like, let's say Super Mario Brothers Galaxy is making... Let's be safe. Let's say it makes $800 million, which is still a lot.
The first one made $1 billion plus, right? It was like 1.3, 1.4.
Can you see a Star Wars movie after 7 years of not having a Star Wars movie in theaters making $400 million? Can you, Dan? Come on. Can you see that? At all.
I mean,
even with it being Mandalorian and Grogu, be honest with me.
I think the lowest grossing Star Wars movie ever was Solo, a Star Wars story, which made like $393 million. But mitigating factors, not very well received, on the back of a trilogy of movies that ultimately didn't pan out. Like you said, this is that situation where people are thirsty for Star Wars at the box office. And $160 million budget is not that bad. Like, this is, like, that's probably what they spent on Supergirl, or more or less that. So the break-even point is not going to be that high. And it's not like they're going super all out for the marketing, because they know there's a lot of built-in fandom from the show and the larger, you know, Lucasfilm, like Star Wars universe, essentially on Disney Plus, even though the last season was not as well received. So I think this movie, like Mandalorian and Grogu, will probably be somewhere between 600 to 800 million. And Super Mario Bros. Galaxy, the first one, if the Super Mario Bros. What was it called? Super Mario Bros. Movie. Somebody tell me in the chat what the box office for it was. It was definitely over $1 billion. It made $1.36 billion. Only Barbie made more money than that the year that it came out. I don't think Super Mario Bros. Galaxy is going to make as much money as the first one did.
I don't think
so
either. That's why I said it's safe in like 800 million,
I mean,
maybe.
It's a family movie. It's a 4-quadrant film, similar to the first one. But even if it makes $1 billion and Mandalorian and Grogu make 600, 700 million, that's not half. I don't think the gulf will be as wide. I mean, not quite a super hot take here, but could it play out that way? Yes. If like Super Mario Bros. Is a terrible movie, but I mean, come on. Like the one thing that both of these movies also have going for them is they're both movies that are made for the 4-quadrant audience. They're made for families to go see them in theaters.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
I think we'll be okay. I think both movies will do just fine. And I actually like the look of The Mandalorian and Grogu. It feels like the better seasons of the show coming to life. So, and there was your first family, you know, Toretto meter.
So, I don't agree with this at all. I think this is... I would say it's like a garbage take, but like I thought initially, like, oh yeah, no way, Mandalorian and Grogu. But then I remember someone was giving me, it's like, dude, it's Star Wars. We haven't seen a Star Wars movie since Rise of Skywalker in a theater.
Yeah, exactly.
It's of course going to make a shit ton of fucking money. I'm like, you know what? You're right. You're right. How fucking stupid am I? Like, just because I don't care about Star Wars and you have a lot of super nerds that also don't care about Star Wars anymore, it's still motherfucking Star fucking Wars, man. Like, it's gonna fucking make money and it's still gonna be beloved by kids and all that shit, which who it's made for, even though Mandalorian is a little bit more adult. But even then, it's like, come on. It's Star Wars. Star Wars is gonna make more money than Super Mario Brothers. I don't know if it's gonna make $1 billion, but like, I could see it getting close to that. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I don't agree with this at all. Moving on to the next thing, enterprising. Hey, there we go. Enterprising, your thing on screen. So Supergirl's box office success / reception will not kill the DCU if it fails. It's one movie that was lower risk than people think. Man of Tomorrow is a bigger test. I think the DCU will be fine regardless. I agree. I agree with this. You know, it's because I think there are people, because you see all the negativity and you're like, oh, the next movie is going to fail. The next movie is going to fail. Superman failed. This failed. This failed. This failed. It's going to fail. Going to fail. Going to fail. Going to fail. Because that's just people being annoying. Like, straight up, like a friend of mine is like, yeah, I'm giving up on the DCU after Peacemaker. And I'm like, all right, okay. Like, you're giving it, okay, like, fine. Because it's like, by that logic, it's like you're giving up after Iron Man 2. It's like, yeah, 2 of them are shows and only one was a movie, but it's like, oh, cool, I'm giving up after 3 projects. Like, imagine, like, if everyone, like, gave up, quote-unquote, after Iron Man 2. That's how fucking stupid you sound right now. I'm not saying, like, if it doesn't appeal to your taste, that's fine, and you don't want to watch it, it's fine. I'm just saying, but then you're, like, people go on, it's like, oh, it's gonna fail because I'm not interested. It's like, it's literally what you're saying about Mandalorian Grogu. I'm not interested in Star Wars anymore. That doesn't mean the pantheon of kids are not interested in Star Wars anymore. They're still interested. They're still gonna watch it. They're probably gonna fucking love it. They're all gonna be with their Grogu popcorn buckets and Mandalorian helmet cups and shit, ready to watch a movie and, you know, gonna enjoy it. Same thing here. Like, you have a dog, cute dog, boom, there you go. You have House Dragon fans that might show up to this. You have maybe Craig Gillespie fans that might show up to this. You have Supergirl fans, not as much as Superman fans. We're gonna have Supergirl. It's gonna be, at the very least, a pretty good success, especially with the lower box office, as we talked about before, not just on this show, but on other shows. And then, yeah, so I think there's that, and then Clayface is just such a smaller movie. It's just like, I feel like that's like an easy, like, $100 million. Like, boom, it'll make double its budget because it's a horror movie. So, like, it, bam, boom, bad and souks. We're gonna fucking get, like, that amount of money because it's just like horror movies are recession-proof. Like, no matter what, people will go to the theater to see a horror movie. And especially, like, okay, Clayface, interesting. But, like, also Mike Flanagan. Also, you know, it does have some people that are known. So, like, there's that, too. So, and I agree. I think Man of Tomorrow is definitely the bigger test.
Yeah. Look, it was earlier this week, I was making this argument that, or maybe last week when we last did Hot Take Debate, and I was kind of being hyperbolic, and I admittedly, you know, said that when I was talking about the idea that, hey, if Supergirl doesn't hit, if Clayface is, you know, not a standout at all, hello Deco, by the way, and then Man of Tomorrow somehow underperforms, like, the DCU will be in trouble, which, I mean, like, you were like, yeah, there's a string of flops, sure, that will put any franchise in trouble. But yeah, look, Supergirl, we have talked about it so far. We haven't seen more than, like, less than 2 minutes of footage, and beyond that, we've just seen the behind the scenes images, which were pretty low resolution. I am hopeful that as soon as we get to see more of Lobo, we get to see a little more of the action, we get to see more of Millie Alcock's character, even though we got quite a bit of it, and we get to see more crypto. Can you believe, John? Would you believe me if I told you there would not be a ton of crypto in the marketing for Supergirl? There's no way crypto doesn't become a big part of the marketing, all the merchandise and the action figures and everything. This movie will have hype behind it. It will do well. I don't think this movie needs to make even 600 million to really be successful. I mean, Superman was, more than broke even, made a profit at 600 million. I think Supergirl can do it 500 or less. And as long as it's received well, that's all. I think that matters is still more than the money. And I know one of you guys probably didn't agree with me in the chat. I saw it was an MTG. We're still in that phase of the DCU, the new DCU, where they need to have critical successes, and even more importantly, they need to have the fans love these movies. They don't have to make $1 billion until maybe Man of Tomorrow. And even then, if it doesn't make $1 billion, we'll be okay with it. Because by the time Man of Tomorrow comes out, it would still only be the 4th movie in this new cinematic universe. If I remember the MCU when that started, was it like was Avengers the 5th one? If I remember correctly, the first movie in the MCU to make $1 billion, and there was the Avengers, and so they had 2 Iron Man movies, they had Thor, they had Captain America. Yeah, so it took 5 movies and Incredible Hulk 6. So it wasn't until their 6th movie and the first team up that they truly got $1 billion. I'm not saying that's apples for apples comparison, different economic climates, and also different sets of characters and whatnot. But we shall see. I just think as far as this take goes, it's a hot take in the sense that the success or reception will not move the needle too much unless it's really bad and both ways. Like if for example, if it has the Justice League level controversy around it and misses the mark by that big of a number, like if it's supposed to make $1 billion and a half, made 600 million, then that would be where we're talking about. I think 600 million, Tony, I wouldn't put it as the minimum. I think 400 to 600 million is the range for this movie. If it makes it somewhere in that range, which I think is capable of doing, it needs to be a good movie and do well with the critics and have a good audience score, then we'll be fine. And Man of Tomorrow is a bigger test. I agree with you, Enterprising. The DCU will be fine regardless. I do worry though, like they have 3 projects this year. If Supergirl underperforms and doesn't connect with audiences, and then the other 2 are similar in that way, that's when we might be in trouble, because that will then put a lot more pressure on Man of Tomorrow to succeed. And CC Black, look, yeah, there will never be another MCU, and not just because it was the MCU, it's also because the time that we were living in, the world that we were living in. And so in a parallel reality, it could have been a different franchise. It could have been the DCU or the DCEU instead of the MCU. It's just, we're never going to be in that economic climate quite the same way again. Maybe we'll be in a better one or a worse one down the road. I think that's a bigger statement. But yeah, John, I think we're in agreement. Supergirl's success or failure won't kill them.
I'm curious. Are you opening up?
It's a Hershey chocolate bar. Yeah, but Supergirl's success or failure won't kill the franchise. So yeah, it will be a series of flops that will do that.
Acres of movies. The Devil Wears Prada 2 will make 650 million at the box office.
Okay.
You take this, Dan.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys a fun fact here. The Devil Wears Prada 2 put out a teaser trailer last year, not even a full trailer, and that trailer in its first 24 hours made, and it wasn't even a full minute long, it got 181.5 million views. We talked about it on the show. You know what that is, John? That is and it ultimately got, like, when they did the final tally, it was 185 million views in the first 24 hours. That was the most viewed trailer of the year. The Devil Wears Prada 2 had it was the highest viewed trailer of the year last year, 2025. And we have had some pretty big trailers come out last year. So all that said, you cannot underestimate the target audience showing up and showing out for this movie. The Devil Wears Prada is one of those legacy sequels that all the women in the world and beyond, look, you and I are not necessarily the target audiences, but I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it, and then plenty of guys will get pulled in by their girlfriends, their moms, their sisters, and daughters and whatnot. You're following up with Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway, those character relationships, whether you watched the movie when it first came out in theaters, or you discovered it on streaming, or you saw the reference in The Office and then went and discovered the movie. That's a very specific reference. But anyway, the point is, The Devil Wears Prada 2, I think that movie will easily make $500 million because how much of an audience there is that I think people in our circles we will underestimate. 650, yeah. I I can see that. I can see that Acres movies. I can see why that's a hot take. Why some people would say that's a hot take. But I'm on board with you, Stacey. I think you hit it right on the mark. Right on the mark. Anything else to add there, John?
I'm doing something. Hang on a sec.
Are you doing some research? Are you trying to prove me wrong that this is not going to actually happen?
I'm just,
It's coming out in May 2026, by the way. So it's going to be playing in theaters when Supergirl comes out. And it was again, the trailer was the most viewed trailer of the year. And ultimately, I mean, Fantastic Four was up there, like, but again, this is another 20th Century Studio movie, came over from the Fox portfolio of franchises. And so I remember like TikTok was filled with like behind the scenes, people literally taking their lunch and like watching them shoot scenes in like skyscrapers in downtown Manhattan for this movie.
Now, if we're going by the original movie made $326.7 million. If we put that into an inflation calculator, it's about $521.89 million. And so with that, if we're going by 521 million, I don't think this will make 650. However, I think it'll be around the inflation revenue that the first movie made, where it's going to make around maybe like 550. Maybe not 650. Maybe a little bit less. But I think it'll make maybe like 500 to 550 million. I'll be nice. I don't think it'll make 650. But it'll be close. It'll be close.
Yeah. Yeah. If I had to guess, I would say 650 is not unrealistic. Is it a guarantee? I don't know if I'm willing to put my money on it just yet. But I'm just saying that's an underrated hot take, because a lot of people will like immediately dismiss it. I don't think you should underestimate the power of the Devil Wears Prada franchise. But anyway,
and by franchise, we mean one movie so far.
Well, soon to be a franchise, potentially. I don't know. I'm just saying. We'll see. Anyway, the IP has power.
Last one is by Caleb. Honka, buddy. Because I want to spite Dan and say The Dark Knight is not the greatest superhero movie we ever made. I'll tell you what I think is the best superhero movie ever made. M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson.
Wrong.
Now, I don't know.
It's just wrong.
I don't know if I would say that Unbreakable is the best superhero movie of all time. Would I say it's better than The Dark Knight? If I had both movies in front of me, I'd probably watch Unbreakable, because I think it's an exceptionally made and very underrated movie. But The Dark Knight is still top tier. However, Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies, so I might say Unbreakable. I love Unbreakable, and I do think it's very underrated. And I don't think either are the greatest superhero movie ever made. I don't think either of them are, but I do enjoy Unbreakable more than The Dark Knight.
I don't know. I must be living in the upside down. I thought like they killed it off at the end of the Stranger Things finale, but
spoilers. No,
come on.
90%.
Come on.
I've gotten 90% of that season spoiled. Come on. I don't give a flying fuck.
Figure drawing. You and I. Just we're gonna hold the fort down for the Oscar winning, posthumously Oscar-winning performance, and Sir President Christopher Nolan's highest-grossing ever movie, The Dark Knight, is the best, but not only Batman movie, not only DC movie, not only superhero movie, the best comic book movie of all time. Unbreakable doesn't even have a comic book that it's based on. I'm not gonna say Unbreakable was a bad movie, because Unbreakable is far and away the best movie in that trilogy of trash. And that being said, when I say trash, I mean Unbreakable is good. The other two movies are more or less trash. The Dark Knight is on a different level. How is this even close?
Amazing, though.
How is this even? I'm a little biased because it's not my particular cup of tea. Like, that's not the kind of movie I would go to see that much, and I didn't enjoy it.
I really loved Glass. I was surprised with how much I loved Glass. So, yeah, Split was great though. That's just. I mean, James McAvoy's performance, better than Heath Ledger? Maybe.
Nope.
There's that.
Nope.
But I don't even think that either of them are the greatest. I would dare say, if I had to say Mr. fucking Marvel hater, I think the greatest comic book movie
right?
of all time might be Logan. I think it's Logan.
I put it up there. It's in my top 3, but it's not at the top. Logan to me is like the highest it got for me is a close second, and I think that's fair because ultimately, for me, The Dark Knight is a masterclass in pacing. It's a masterclass in like acting in a way that it wasn't the Jared Leto way of method acting. No, it was actually. I mean, look. Ultimately, I think Heath Ledger, what happened and him passing away before the movie even came out and everything.
I'm never
incredibly
stop
tragic and sad.
Logan. Shut the fuck up, Elite Easy.
But
get the fuck out of here.
Logan is the greatest Marvel movie of all time. Top 2 greatest comic book superhero movie of all time. I just think The Dark Knight is better than that. And that's just where I stand on this, and I know this is why Caleb put it out there. What makes this a hot take is that he's somehow using Unbreakable in the same sentence as The Dark Knight. It's just even in M. Night's dreams, he can't be as good of a director or dream to be as good of a director as Christopher Nolan was. When he was just starting out directing movies in film school or whatever. Like, it's just, come on, it's not even close. Like, that's just it's darkly dark. It's way better. The Dark Knight is way better than a guy pushing around his dying fast. A bit of an I think you're oversimplifying Unbreakable. Like, I'll give Unbreakable his due. But The Dark Knight is way better. And I mean, this is exactly what Caleb wanted, so there you go.
How is The Dark Knight not a downer? Like, literally, the fucking whole movie sets up Batman relinquishing his life as a crime fighter and his fucking lover dying who no longer loves him, and the faith in the justice system dying, and the faith in the literally half of that fucking movie is a downer. What the fuck
and we know.
Smoking?
And we know they've talked about there was a lot of post 9/11 commentary in that movie.
Yeah.
So it's all there.
Huge.
I think that's a fair statement.
Administration. What the fuck are you talking about?
And then look, ultimately, The Dark Knight. Well,
that's a skill issue. Figure drawing.
No. Yeah. I think they're both like tackle subject matter that gets pretty dark. I think ultimately the way the movies end, like the way The Dark Knight ends its story feels more hopeful because of the whole monologue at the end, which, by the way, is still one of the greatest endings to any superhero movie of all time. And Unbreakable, hasn't ended, but it's much more subdued. So you don't quite feel that sense of, valor at the end, that sense of like, oh my God, the hero won even though he didn't quite win, and we get to see more of that in The Dark Knight Rises.
We're not talking about Dark Knight Rises, Elise. We're talking about The Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises is a happy ending. Dark Knight is not. Don't fuck with me on that.
But hey, look, Caleb, thank you for the hot take, because you got exactly what you wanted and what you're looking for. The context for this was when I posted, the call for all these hot takes. I put in a hot take that I think it said, to paraphrase my own wording, that some people think that The Dark Knight is not the greatest superhero movie of all time. Some people are wrong, and Caleb decided to take that as a challenge, and here we are. And right on, Caleb. The right buttons to press. I'm like, of all the movies you could have put in that sentence, it's like Unbreakable.
You fell for the rage bait, Dan.
I fell for the rage bait. I fell for the. You know what? I kind of blame you, because you started us on a track where you didn't immediately dismiss it out of just the pure rage bait nature of this hot take, and then I was just like, get out of here.
I am also a rage baiter. Come on now.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Like,
as long as that's the only
kind
of baiter that we have to talk about on the show. But anyway, go bait somewhere else, Caleb, because we're done talking about this. The Dark Knight is a superior movie, and that is your hot take debate for the day. I'm sure we have a few more saved up. You guys are welcome to go add more in the comments on the post section on the channel. It's still up there. You could throw in your hot takes, and we'll bring more into the show next year or next week. Next year? It's already the next year. But we'll do it next year. Yeah. Rage bait successful. Yeah, check that box on your 2026 checklist, Caleb. Thank you for that. But now, John, as you were saying earlier, it's time for MCU Weekly. Why don't you walk us through the latest and greatest from the world of Avengers Doomsday and a certain show that's coming out in 3 weeks, believe it or not, Wonder Man. They put out a full trailer. Let's talk about all of that.
Forgot that existed. Holy shit. Because God knows Marvel wishes they, could stop it from existing. So
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. Let's talk about it, shall we, John?
It's a good show, but I don't know. Anyway, fans divided by latest Avengers Doomsday leaks. Are they AI or a first look at Steve Rogers? Spoiler, our favorite character. Favorite character is spoiler. So apparently, according to this, Chris Evans' Doomsday photo shoot leaked, and it's him kind of sort of as NOMAD in a way. Like here, you can kind of see a little bit more. It's mainly, him just kind of in normal clothes. Although he does have Mjolnir. So that's interesting. I don't think these are real. They don't look real. They don't feel real. They do kind of look AI. They just look kind of stilted. So that's the vibe I'm getting, is that they're most likely fake.
We'll say it's a pretty close.
Okay.
Look, here's what I'll say about these photos, just to kind of give you guys some context. I'm sure you guys have seen all kinds of leaks for Avengers Doomsday, behind the scenes stuff, and we have seen even stuff like this where there's supposedly, promotional shots, and if you zoom into this a little bit more, you could see that it's Steve Rogers, potentially, Chris Evans, Steve Rogers holding Mjolnir, and he's kind of like in his nomad costume, just a jacket and pair of jeans, whatever. It's all, same black or some shade of gray. So not the Captain America costume. And it kind of leans into the idea that he won't be coming back as for Captain America. Although, again, John, you got to remember, he should have returned Mjolnir back to where he got it from. So that to me is immediately a giveaway that why would he even have Mjolnir? Because he should have he should have put it back in the timeline that it came from. Otherwise, he's actively causing incursions. Because the idea would be, if he's still, the hero that we all loved, then why would he be doing this on purpose? He was meant to return all these artifacts and where they got them from in the various different timelines. And then also, the Mjolnir in the present day was destroyed, right, in the last Thor movie. So I think that alone is disqualifying, more so than how convincing or otherwise these photos themselves are.
Literally, out of the two big movies coming out this year, I almost said next year, this year, I'm seeing Spider-Man. I'm seeing it opening day. Why? Because I like Marvel and I love Spider-Man. I just have not been impressed by Doomsday at all. That's why I'm not seeing it. Why would I go see a movie I am not interested in? That makes no fucking sense. The reason you go see movies is because you are interested in them. You want to talk about them. You want to see them. I am not interested in Doomsday. However, I am interested in Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. That's the thing that started me on this whole shebang in the first place. So, kick rocks. All right? So, I'm not going to see the fucking movie. Okay? And I'm not seeing it out of spite. I'm seeing it because it doesn't interest me.
Okay. John, your thought, by the way, hello, more cat. Do you believe these photos are real? Or
No,
do you think
I don't think they're real. I don't think they're real.
All right, let's keep on moving then. We got some more talk. We got to talk about the trailers, the teaser trailers. We are now seeing if you guys go to see Avatar now in theaters, Avatar Fire and Ash, you should be able to see this weekend. Did any of you go see Avatar this weekend? Because you probably saw the X-Men trailer play before the movie starts, where you see Ian McKellen's Magneto, and then he's narrating the whole trailer saying, "Death comes for us all. That's all I know for sure. The question isn't, are you prepared to die? The question is, who would you be when you close your eyes?" He said it a lot more eloquently than I just did, because it gave me chills every time I've seen it.
That's why he's knighted and you're not, man.
Yeah. You know what? Fair play, sir, Ian McKellen. But let's move on to talking about the next one, John, because we apparently have a leak. If you scroll back up a little bit, there's potentially a leak for the dialogue to the narration of the fourth teaser, which, if you're looking at your leak clock, Marvel, just remember, you got to leak that trailer in a couple of days. But, much like they usually have been doing, it's Friday, Saturday time. So you got to leak like either the audio from it, or you got to leak the audio description, or in this case, the actual dialogue from the fourth teaser, which we thought was going to be focusing on the Fantastic Four and the Wakandans, and it looks like that's exactly what we're getting here. And apparently in that teaser, I can't really place who would be saying this. Maybe it's Reed Richards. Like, it sounds like it's Mr. Fantastic, so Pedro, Daddy Pedro saying this. They say, "No problem on this earth is beyond your mind. On my world, that burden was mine to bear, but I have exhausted every solution, and my child is still gone. We need your help." John, what's going on here? Is it Daddy Pedro asking the new Avengers for help? Or maybe the Wakandans? Maybe the Talokans?
Maybe the Wakandans. Maybe because he sees the technologically advanced people, or that's where they crash land, with the whole thing in Doomsday with the Avengers seeing the new Avengers seeing the ship crashing, and so it's entirely possible that Doom takes Franklin, takes him, and then he either crash lands or diverts to Wakanda, and he sees that they're the most technologically advanced people on planet Earth, so he's like, "Hey, we need your help because my son's gone, you're advanced, give us some help." So
yeah, that would make sense. I could see that. This is believable. And if you look at the track record over the last month at this point, these leaks tend to be pretty on point. Wherever they're coming from, Marvel, they're pretty accurate. So I would believe this. And this tells me, and again, it reaffirms that we're going to get to see a Wakandan Talokan, and potentially, obviously the Fantastic Four focused fourth teaser, which again, if the clock, is going to strike midnight per se, maybe by this time Monday we'll be talking about it, because it will be leaked, just 2 to 3 days before it plays in theaters. So we'll look out for that. But John, apparently there's another rumor. We love rumors. I'm even going to put a graphic up so that you guys know that this is a rumor. Proceed with caution, as they say. But John, the whispers are out there, and apparently a particular MCU character is going to have their biggest part to play, according to Daniel Rickman, in Avengers Doomsday that we have ever seen in the MCU for them. Of course, he's talking about Haley Atwell playing Peggy Carter. Daniel said,
we
Haley
know
Atwell will
something's big
have
about her, but now she's finally going to have a big role in a movie, probably the first time since First Avengers. So that's pretty good.
There you go. He said Haley Atwell will have the biggest role she's ever had in an Avengers film in Doomsday. She's not just a cameo, and she actually has a role throughout the movie. I don't know if she has more screen time in this movie than the first Avengers. She was practically a co-lead in that film. So I don't know. I mean, that feels like a bit of a stretch if you're trying to make a point that she's more than a cameo, because seemingly since the first Avenger, every time we've seen her is only in a cameo, other than the Agent Carter show that I don't even know if it's canon to the MCU. John, do you believe this? I mean, are we going to see a lot of her? Because what does this even mean for the plot? Like, is she going to time travel to the present day as well?
I mean, I hope so, because I think Haley Atwell and Peggy Carter has been grossly underutilized in this franchise. So, except when they're trying to push the whole Captain Carter thing that nobody actually gives a fuck about. So, I think she deserves it, and I hope it's a big role, but I'm not holding my breath that this is actually true or not. So,
yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Thank you. Am I a wise man? I question it sometimes. I agree with you there, John. And
back reference here. No, wise man. Never had a common steal. Anyway.
Okay, let's move on, because we got to talk about Wonder Man, John. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is making the transition from DC to Marvel, while ScarJo comes over from Marvel to DC, and he's going to be featuring in Wonder Man, a show that comes out 3 weeks from now. And they put out a trailer. I mean, this is not the first trailer they put out, but this is, I guess, the final trailer, like a full official trailer. It came out a day ago now, and I saw it. I watched it. I've been seeing, and I'm somebody who's really been watching all of the viral marketing around this, like all the little bits and pieces they've got Sir Ben Kingsley doing, and he's back as Trevor Slattery. He used to be an actor. Of course, you've got the president
Speaking of somebody going from DC to Marvel.
What was he the president of? What was the I forget the country.
Baravia, whatever the fuck.
Baravia. Speaking of the now dead president,
whatever the fuck. I don't remember.
No, I think it was Baravia, the now dead president of Baravia. He's back as, I guess, some kind of amalgamation of Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, and Steven Spielberg, directing a Wonder Man movie in what looks to be a very meta show. But this trailer really gives us an idea. Like, I think in a more of us, like, introducing Wonder Man to somebody who's not been watching the MCU for a long time, this trailer did a better job than everything they've done before this. As somebody who's seen all the other ones, like, of course, Eugene liked it, and I know some of you guys might have already seen this, but it looked nice. It looked fun. And clearly, you know, they're giving you a nice summary of, like, who are the big players, what's going on in the MCU right now, how much do you need to know, really?
Wait, Dan, I gotta ask you, since you know better than me.
Yeah.
Is the chick on the right, the third person in this photo, was she in For All Mankind? Was she part of the Russian people working with Helios when they were trying to be on Mars?
You know, I think so. I'm gonna have to look up the IMDb, but maybe.
Because I mean, I just watched it, so that's why I'm like,
I haven't. It's been a while since I saw it, so I'm having a hard time placing her by just that shot alone. Yeah, Trevor Slattery, Tara. That's Liverpool for bye-bye. You have to watch some of those those little meta interview things. Like, he went on a podcast and everything. I still laugh to this day thinking about the
Alien
twist in
exists.
Iron Man 3.
At least we know that Alien exists in this.
Well,
world,
you know, Disney
so
owns the rights, so they'll throw it in there.
Yeah.
But John, one of the things that we now know, kind of like Ironheart last year, they're going to be dropping all the episodes at once. So your thoughts on, does that mean Disney just kind of wants to bury this, you know, under the rug and move on? Probably. Or because it looks fun, and this is something different. This is the kind of thing I think. And when the MCU was in its heyday, they were doing these kind of experimentation, like whether it was the Guardians movie or, I don't know, think of another good example. But like, there were times when Marvel was like, let's do a caper, you know, or let's do a space adventure, let's do a meta commentary, you know, on superhero fatigue. Like, this is the kind of thing that Marvel should be excelling at, and that should be really popular. But I don't know. A lot of people just don't believe in this. Like, I just don't hear a lot of people talking about it, even though, look, it's Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He made the very kooky version of Black Manta seem like an actually formidable villain in the Aquaman movies.
And then they fucked up with Lost Kingdom, but that's beside the point.
But I'm just saying the caliber of actor. And, you know, Sir Ben Kingsley is an Academy-winning actor. You know, or if you go by his, you know, character, Trevor Slattery, he used to be an actor in the end. Like, the potential for this show is so high. I can't wait to see if this actually is good. I might just binge it because they've got me hooked on the premise. Like, John, are you going to be watching this when it comes out?
No, I have no interest because I just, like, I like the idea, but I just can't. I'm not sold on the concept. If it's that good, maybe, but I don't know. I can't see myself watching it.
By the way, in this trailer, we get to see one of the lieutenants of the Department of Damage Control, which I think is going to figure into the plot of Spider-Man Brand New Day as well. So it looks like the Department of Damage Control is here to stay. I think we first got introduced to them in the last Spider-Man movie. That's interesting. I think they were also, like, the Department of Damage Control was figured into the plot of Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and it looks like as the X-Men come into play, that's going to be a big part of it. In fact, John, it seems like something significant has happened in the world of the MCU, because if you go to the next article, we might already be getting some mutants in this show. Because in the world of the MCU, one of the mutants, Doorman, apparently was part of an incident of some kind. That's the speculation right now, that led to all Hollywood studios banning any participation from superpowered, you know, people on sets. And if you're gonna sign up for a project, you have to. The dormant clause says that you need to sign an NDA and sign off and waive or maybe affirm the idea that you don't have superpowers. And that's part of this here, where like Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character Wonder Man, who ended up hopefully playing Wonder Man, he actually has powers, but he lies to the studio about it and gets the role. So obviously that's going to be a recipe for shenanigans. But if you scroll down here, there's some posters that sort of kind of give me, I mean, I don't think this is meant to be a Civil War-esque, like the Sokovia Accords level change, but it does goes to show you that there's been maybe some seeds being laid here for the arrivals of the arrival of the mutants.
I love Rogers the musical right there.
Yeah. John, your thoughts on this? Obviously this could be a commentary on Hollywood from the 40s, like the when everybody was trying to find the communists in their neighborhood and going after the peak of the Cold War, or the first peak of the Cold War, I guess. There's actually a few more if you scroll through here. I like the just the overall, like there's a casting call which talks about it. Your thoughts on something like the Doorman clause? Like, are you familiar with the character Doorman?
Never heard of him before today.
If you go to the Instagram one, there's actually 3 of different versions there of the poster. Yeah, Red Scare. That's what I was trying to get at, Caleb. There's a Red Scare inspiration, which if they play it right, actually no, not this one, the one above it. There's an arrow to the right. Yeah, no superpowers. All superpowers are now banned in Hollywood, and then there's one more after that, kind of leaning into the same. Yeah. Hollywood bans all superpowers. Great. Your thoughts? Maybe the MCU is trying to do something a little more original. Will it work? They don't seem to be showing a lot of confidence in it. You would think that this would get a bigger chunk of the marketing presence. It's getting buried on YouTube while Avengers are getting like 4 trailers in theaters.
In this world, probably.
Just some geeky guy, thank you for the super chat, saying they completely changed Wonder Man's origin. He received powers from the Masters of Evil before joining the Avengers, then got into the Hollywood later. Yeah, well, they are adapting it. It's definitely not like one for one, as is usually the case with the MCU. But yeah, I mean, John, do you think this is going to be long forgotten by the time we get to Spider-Man in the summer, or does Wonder Man have any chance of punching through all the noise?
I mean, I hope it does well. I hope people like it, but it doesn't look interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, I really like the look of this show, so I can't wait to see what it turns into. Personally, I'm going to be watching it, and if it's any good, I'll binging it, especially because they'll put all the episodes out at once. So usually what studios do is like if the thinking goes, if they don't want to have constant bad press every week, they'll release all the episodes at once. If they're really confident that this show will build up and more people will talk about it and more people will watch it every week, they'll release it weekly. So given that they're putting all the episodes out at once, I guess maybe Disney doesn't believe in it as much. Maybe it's not a very good show. I mean, between this and Vision Quest, I'm interested to see how Marvel does on television on Disney Plus this year. So anyway, that's all we got for the MCU part of the show, guys. I'm excited to see Wonder Woman. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about it. Right now, though, we're going to move on to the quickets. John, let's roll out.
So first things first, the big thing that we were kind of talking about that wasn't quite enough for a news story, but enough to talk about, is Netflix now planning a week 17-day theatrical window for Warner Brothers movies. Keep in mind that this is coming from a much better. World of Real is a terrible news organization because it's bad, but they are referencing Deadline article. Yeah. So that gives it some credence, but which makes this even worse considering we thought that maybe Ted Sarandos would be decent about it, but no, it seems like that's not the case.
Okay, so this is where I just want to dispel some panic around this. I know Tony was asking about it earlier, and anybody who's wondering, they're referencing a sentence from a Deadline article. Actually, if you scroll down here, John, you can click through and pull it up if you like. Deadline did this big report on the box office and what to look ahead to. If you click on Steamroll the theatrical business, that goes to the article. And in Deadline, they were giving us some quotes about how Ted Sarandos has said many a times, that they're committed to the theatrical business for Warner Brothers, and they're going to make sure that they honor those contracts in place. Which again, 27, 28, that's about when we might start to see some changes. And I'm not saying I believe Ted Sarandos that they're always going to stick with the industry standard theatrical windows, because the industry standard has evolved over the years. So maybe their goal is to evolve it. So, you could look at it, and they never gave a number, which obviously if they did, then people will hold them to it. So the assumption though is Ted Sarandos years ago, maybe a couple of years, I don't know the exact amount of time, but over the years, he has certainly reiterated this, and I think he mentioned it even last year, where he said, look, he believes in the idea that a 17-day theatrical window is really the magic number. That's really where he'd like to see it. He never said that's where I want to take things. He just said that's where he thinks that's people would like for it to be. That being said, all of his recent statements have been about Warner Brothers will do what Warner Brothers does now, Netflix will do what Netflix does now, and those two sides of the businesses will function, together yet separately. And the Deadline article here, they mention those quotes, and then they mention that the town, aka Hollywood, still worries about what traditional means for Netflix. And then they reiterate something they reported on weeks ago, saying that Netflix, according to Deadline sources, have been proponents of a 17-day window, which would steamroll the theatrical business. And AMC believed, that line needs to be held around 45 days, which makes sense because, for example, the Wake Up Dead Man did not play in any of the big movie theater chains like AMC, because they didn't want to play it, Netflix didn't want to play it for more than a week or two. And they were like, if you're going to play it for a month. Like, we're not going to allow you to do this for just a week or two, in all of our thousands of theaters. But, then Netflix was like, how about we give you an olive branch and you can play Stranger Things finale for free. And everybody who comes in, they just need to reserve their seat by buying your concessions that you get to keep all the money from. So, Netflix is trying to butter up AMC as well. So there's a lot of nuances to this, but ultimately people are blowing this out of proportion. Like, this is buried deep in an article on Deadline that's not even like about the 17-day window thing. That's not even an afterthought in the article. It's just like a repeat of what Deadline reported a while ago. So I don't think this is a big deal, and I certainly think this just became a viral sensation today where there's no need for it to be. I think right now that there's a strong chance Netflix keeps Warner Brothers Pictures going to theaters for the next few years. Beyond that, all bets are off. And until we hear otherwise, I'm just going to assume that they might not even put any of these movies in theaters. Like, forget the 17-day. They might just be like straight to Netflix. But we're not there yet. But as far as this thing goes in particular, it's not news. It's old news, if anything. And
it's old news. I mean, to be fair, it's World of Real. They're usually pretty bad on stuff. It's just like, this is where it's probably gonna go, and then it's gonna shrink until it's just like, as you said, it's probably gonna straight to Netflix. But we're not there yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. But now let's try to keep this quick. MTV didn't shut down on New Year's Eve, despite social media posts, but the music left a long time ago. So MTV said they would plan to end everything in 2025, but that looks like it's turned out not to be true. So, thoughts on this, Dan?
Yeah, there was, for some reason, and I saw this on social media too, I was like, wait, why? Did MTV actually shut down? The last I checked, they weren't doing anything of the sort. So basically, the actual MTV, like, the main MTV channel still exists. It's just that, they used to still have, if you have cable, or if you used to have cable, you might remember there were like 24/7 music channels. Like, if you just wanted to listen to a genre of music, like MTV Rock, I think was a thing, or MTV Classics, MTV 80s, MTV 90s, those 24/7 music channels are no longer on the air in Europe and in the Americas. So, but, like they said here, the music left MTV a long time ago. This was just a small little, little side operation for MTV, because MTV is really all about, reality shows and all that stuff now. So, I mean, MTV Studios made a Halo show a couple of years ago. So, anyway, MTV's the main, like, if you watch anything on MTV, like Jersey Shore, whatever is on there now, that still exists. So.
Yeah. Not like we want it to be, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
TV ratings. ABC hits 4-year high for New Year's Rockin' Eve. The network's annual special tops all programming for the final night of 2025. Congratulations. Because I know I was watching, like, the Anderson... I hate both. Like, the only thing I do is, like, I tune in, like, 5 minutes before... Like, we're watching, like, shows and movies and stuff, and then we tune in for the, like... 5 minutes before midnight, we watch the ball drop, and then we fuck off, because honestly, both of these, a lot of the specials, like, you know, the Rockin' Eve, whatever the hell, they're just cringe, and they're boring, and they're stupid. Like, I remember before we tuned into this one, my parents were just watching one of them because we just wanted to see the ball drop, and this dude was talking about, like, sucking cocks on, like, cable TV. What? Like BJ Novak was there, Anderson Cooper was there, and
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he was like, "Yeah, how much dick would you suck in a year?" or some stupid like, why? This, like, I pray to God
they're pretty
children
hammered
are watching this, because it's like, somebody's toasted, and you need to not be doing that if children are watching cable TV, you idiot. So yeah,
well, I mean, that's CNN, but the ABC tends to have a more wholesome broadcast. But yeah, I mean, Dick Clark is no longer on, but like it's great. New Year's Rockin' Eve, so yeah, good for them. I mean, this was a pretty the ratings were pretty big time, especially at a time when a lot of people don't watch TV anymore. Yeah.
Anywho, but next up, Deadpool and Wolverine star Hugh Jackman continues to see his MCU return. My gut says I'm not done. Tilly's 90.
Are you surprised? I mean, dude, Ian McKellen literally is living that mantra, because the dude is 86 and he's still doing it. So I can't imagine that, you know, Hugh Jackman is giving this up anytime soon.
Pissing on Logan's corpse. That's all you're doing every time I see one of these articles, just showcasing that Logan is meaning less and less as time goes on. So frankly, Hugh Jackman, suck my ass, because you know what? He cheated on his wife. So frankly, Hugh Jackman can go fuck himself. All right, not just this. He's a piece of shit. He's an asshole.
Isn't that like not confirmed? Anyway. Is that okay? All right.
It's a thing. It was an open secret for years. All right, so fuck off, Hugh Jackman. Speaking of things I need to fuck off, Scream 7. Ghostface shares a chilling New Year's message with Sidney Prescott in new teaser. We have some catching up to do, Sidney. That's all he said. Yeah. Cool, great, don't care. Why are we talking about this? Fucking dog shit. Anyway,
it's a quick hit. There you go.
Stranger Things finale delivers 25. This was the article we were looking at before.
Yeah.
With the Ted Sarandos quote. But delivers 25 million plus to movie theaters after New Year's play. More than 60% of that from AMC. Box office update. Nice.
This is great because it goes to show you, I mean, this is, by the way, the popularity of the show, but also that Netflix might be loosening up a little bit on the idea of theatrical as a whole. By the way, that 25 million plus number is not for the tickets. It's just for selling concessions at AMC. And AMC pretty much, you know, well, not just AMC, but the other theaters too, but AMC, you know, accounted for over 60% of that number, the $25 million. And those theaters got to keep all the money from it, basically, because there's a contractual thing. But then the cast, basically everybody in the Stranger Things, in their contracts, it says that if they have a theatrical release, then Netflix has to pay them like a percentage of the proceeds, like of the box office. So Netflix was like, we don't need to. We'll just throw it in movie theaters for free. But I mean, that alone is not the reason to throw it in movie theaters for free, because if they did it and charged you for like a normal movie would, they would still make money on it, even though they will have to give a percentage to these actors. I think they did it completely for free to let the movie theaters keep all the concession money, because basically all you did was buy a concession pass or whatever, and you got a reserved seat instead of a ticket to the movie. So you didn't have to go purchase your concession separately. And I mean, I think they did this because Netflix is trying to like maybe play nice with movie theaters for once, because they might be releasing a lot of movies in theaters in the future under, you know, Warner Brothers once they own them. So that's how I look at it. But it goes to show you that, you know, Netflix, between this and putting like, you know, Narnia this year in theaters for a month, they're trying to grease the wheels, Eric. They're trying to grease the wheels. I know what you mean. Let's keep on going.
But next up, more Stranger Things talk. Get out of here. Fuck off.
Speaking of what
Stranger
Enterprising
Things
is saying.
spin-off with new characters, a new town, new world, and it'll tie off a pretty big loose end. Honestly, this is what like it should have been initially, just like have each season be about a new cast and new town, but you know, we didn't go that route. Oh well.
Well, without giving, because look, we're not gonna give away spoilers about it, but there is like a thing that happens in the finale that connects to a spin-off, and it's not about the characters from the show, if that's what, it's certainly not the ones you're familiar with from the beginning of the show, the OG kid characters in the show. So but yeah, it looks like the Duffer Brothers have, I mean, they have that animated spin-off coming up, but this will be a live action one, and it looks like it will take place in the same world, but it will be a different part of the world, like different town, new characters. But also, the Duffer Brothers are going to Paramount, so I don't know how much they're going to be involved with this stuff moving forward. So anyway,
maybe if they're gone, it'll be actually good again, like the first season. So you know.
But they created the first, dude. They made the show anyway.
Anywho, but The Traitors season 4 launches with peak audience of 7 million as BBC kicks off 2026 with a night manager infused bang. I don't know what this is, Dan. You take it.
This is The Traitors. I don't know if you. How are you not familiar with The Traitors? We've talked about this on Quick as many times. Okay, anyway, The Traitors is one of those. Yeah, many a times, dude. This is like a hugely popular reality show franchise. So this is the British version of the show. Season 4 just launched on BBC. Again, 7 million viewers. That's big. And The Night Manager, by the way, that's the Tom Hiddleston show that in the US is on Netflix. And I think they're coming back with a new season after a long time. So, yeah. And then the US version of the show, Alan Cummings, Nightcrawler, hosts it. And the new season of the US version of the show will debut on January 8th. So this upcoming week. So whether you watch the version, the UK version, which is also on Peacock, and then if you watch the American version, which will also be on Peacock, go check it out. This is a phenomenon. They have an Australian version, they have a New Zealand version, they have a Indian version. It's going to South Korea this year. So yeah, hey Watcher, we'll see you in a few minutes. But yeah, anyway, John, it's big. Trust me, it's big. Yeah. That's what she said.
Paul Mescal says, people will get a break from me and I'll get a break from them until 2028 when he plays Paul McCartney in the Beatles movie. So I guess you could say that maybe Paul Mescal needs to get back.
Huh? Okay. Got it. Okay. Cool, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be in the mindset, be in the role, all that shit, so... yeah, way to go for him. Anyway, James Cameron defends a House of Dynamite ending. It's the only possible ending. The only thing I know about this movie is that it sucked and the ending was a cop-out. So,
well, because they don't really give you a resolution. Like, they don't actually show, you know, the bomb going off, let's say. They're just going to leave it there because the movie just makes you think. So, anyway. But hey, James Cameron defending his ex-wife Catherine Bigelow's work. I mean, look, for two people who were married once upon a time, like, and at this point it's been decades ago, they seem to have, and I guess they must have had a amicable, you know, separation or divorce whenever it happened, or they've you know, supported each other even when the whole Avatar versus the Hurt Locker thing was going on in the 2000s. So, yeah, not surprised. James Cameron doing a lot of interviews right now, while he's not shooting the next 2 Avatar movies. So, yeah.
Right. Henry Winkler says retirement is furthest thing from my imagination. You and 90% of the fucking old people in Hollywood. So, yeah.
Till he's 90.
Makeup Artist and Hairstylist Guild Awards nominations. Frankenstein, One Battle After Another. Sinners, Weapons, Wicked for Good. Lead film nods. I think Superman was nominated for contemporary hairstyling.
Yeah.
So way to go to them.
I mean, hopefully Frankenstein wins all the big ones. Yeah.
I hope so too.
Yep. And Wicked for Good, I still don't know why that. I mean, I guess the production design is great. So the VFX and I didn't like so much, but yeah.
But that's
it. Yeah.
No more crickets.
That's it. That's all the quickest we got. Thanks for watching the news portion of the
guys.
show.
Yeah, we're gonna get into DC stuff now.
The ride ain't over yet.
Pumped. The ride ain't over yet, my man. Anyway, so let's get this party started. And let's be hashtag.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to DCU Daily. Wahoo! Anyway, so welcome to DCU Daily. I am, of course, John. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to get into this. I can't wait to talk about all the things that James Gunn said, that he didn't say, everything else, and all the things in between. And, of course, Dan's here. What are you excited to talk about today, Dan? Excited to talk about stuff?
I'm excited to talk about how Superman did in that poll, the IGN bracket, was it? Movie of the Year bracket. Interesting where that ended up. And also, there's a couple of things about, what did Gunn say, maybe what he didn't say. Especially...
That's for Geeky Guy. Wahoo!
Yep. Especially talking about the Wonder Woman casting rumors, they continue onwards. I mean, he didn't straight up deny that they were casting Wonder Woman. He just said, don't expect it. Like, he specifically denied the thing that we were going to get a casting announcement in January this year, right? Or like January, February. So, anyway, we'll get to that. But John, before we get that far, we got some DC quick hits to get into. So let's get to the Paradox Pelicans of the DCU news.
Yes. So the first thing we have is David Cornsweet meeting his uncle, well, his in DC Universe uncle with David Krumholtz, who's looking way fucking older. Bro looking like John McCain there, okay. And so there they are, they're either meeting on set, they're meeting at a con, they're meeting somewhere, and they decide to take a nice little picture together. Dan, what are your thoughts on this? Is this nice, cute, and wonderful?
Yeah, it's cute. It's nice. I mean, David Krumholtz is a very sweet person from everything I hear, and I like that they're matching hairstyles for the most part. And again, David Cornsweet, like I couldn't point him out in a crowd, like never could. Like this guy just blends in, and you can see the resemblance, can't you? Like I can see it. Maybe a mustache for David Krumholtz. That's what we need. But that's I can see it. That's uncle and
bald
nephew. Okay. My eyes. Wait, we have that one. Hold on. Do it again. No, you gotta say it. You gotta say it out loud. Bald. There we go. Now we have the meme or the GIF or whatever. Clip that up, please.
Beautiful. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. Speaking of the Dark Knight, apparently the scrapped video game reveals the unseen fate of Heath Ledger's Joker. So famously, as we all know, the Dark Knight was going to get its own video game, but then the people involved were like, hey, instead of doing a Dark Knight game, why don't we fucking, just make a Batman game and just do that? And they're like, all right, cool, we'll give you another year to work on it. And that evolved into Batman Arkham Asylum, which is one of the greatest Batman games of all time, which would eventually lead to its much superior sequel with Arkham City, which is by many which people consider to be the greatest Batman game of all time. Arguably the greatest DC game of all time. So, there has been some concept art that was leaked that showed Heath Ledger's Joker in a cell with his legs broken. As well as looking out the window to the Dark Knight flying by. So, you know, but yeah, so I think this is really cool. Obviously this isn't technically canon, even if the game did get released, because so it essentially what this is showcasing is that the Joker is ambushing Batman, using gas to render him unconscious, and then stealing a Batarang, which he uses to kill a female hostage, possibly framing the vigilante. Later, we find the Joker in Arkham with broken legs and staring at the bat signal through the small window in his cell, a hint perhaps about how his story was going to end after he was cut down from where Batman left him hanging in the movie itself. You may recall that the Dark Knight's novelization revealed that the Joker was Arkham's sole inmate after he terrorized Gotham, something like this game we're sure Nolan must have approved or had some input with. The ending may have been a scrapped post-credit scene or alternate ending, for example. So there is all of that, and it's definitely intriguing. It would have been an intriguing continuation of a great movie, well, even though Caleb doesn't think so. But, you know, would have been interesting, yes, but I'm glad we got the game we got, because Arkham Asylum is just... it's just fucking fantastic. It's just an unbelievably amazing game, and I'm not saying if it was Dark Knight Connected it would have been bad, but I can't imagine that it would have been as good as what we got, which was its own, you know, way of doing things. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, we talked about it earlier in Hot Take Debate. It was just tragic that Heath Ledger passed when he did, and I mean, Christopher Nolan almost didn't even make The Dark Knight Rises. So, look, we have all also known that DC's gaming strategy, Warner Brothers Games strategy, has been suspect for a long time, but yeah, I wish we got this game. I mean, and it was also, this is from a different time, like you said, John, when video games were more commonly, like, you know, accompanying these new movie releases, even though they didn't necessarily always they weren't always that good. And like you talked about in this article, you know, EA, of course, being the dicks that they were like, no, you can't have any more time to develop this game. And ultimately it got canceled. I wish we could have seen this, because it would have been another... you know, legacy thing for instead. Heath Ledger.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But next thing, we have some Absolute Batman stuff with, you know, Absolute Catwoman. And by the way, both Absolute Catwoman and the next picture are made by Mark Brooks. You can catch him on Instagram. But, you know, Shadow the Hedgehog's preferred Catwoman because he loves Latinas. So, you know, of course... I love Latina Sonic. But honestly, great artwork. I just can't get behind the weird mirror dome thing. It's just like, it's so... because the rest of it is fucking Kino. Yet...
I love it.
Mirror, it's
I love
so
it.
Dumb. It's you know, it is absolute. It is baddie.
Absolute.
So, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfection right there. But But yeah, great stuff. So Mark Brooks made this in addition to Absolute Poison Ivy. Also looks fantastic. I slightly prefer Catwoman, but that's just me. But both are great. I really like what they did with Poison Ivy here. And I'm not just talking about this image. I'm talking about with the design they did for her. It's just like, I love how colorful it is. It's not just green and brown like she usually is. I like how they have like blue and pink and white in there. I think, and then the hair is definitely, it feels more colorful. So I really like this. I don't think I'm gonna read the comics that these are used in, but like, I do still like these vibes, and I like these designs, and Mark Brooks is pretty talented. So yeah. Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
I love the looks of this.
Just show both hands on screen. There we go.
What are you talking about? Are you insinuating something here? Because
no,
I don't know. Okay, my hands are on the table, John. My hands are on the table.
You are using the wrong connotation of your, sir. But yeah, they're
looks
pretty
great.
Awesome.
Looks awesome.
But speaking of Absolute Batman number 17, apparently spoilers, they reveal the truth about Absolute Poison Ivy as more cover art is revealed. So she is pretty to attract people before the monster emerges. Absolute Poison Ivy is just as monstrous as any of the other Absolute Rogue Gallery, possibly even more so. Where you have feathers, you have owls. So, we might be getting, this is another piece of cover art for Absolute Batman number 17. In addition to this, with our yoked Batman with seriously, why the fuck is he on the fucking shoulder pad? Anyway, I don't wear shoulder pads. But
hockey pads?
Artwork,
okay.
But it's definitely, it's great, and I'm curious if we are going to be getting Court of Owls stuff. So that's because they were created by Scott Snyder, and he's writing Absolute Batman. So yeah, awesome. Brick's logo. Brick. Is that an axe? Anyway, just absolute fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. It gets pretty wild, the stories. I read this article, I was like, whoa, okay. That's a lot darker than the artwork, but all right, that's what Absolute Comics are all about. So let's keep on rolling.
That's what it's all about. Anyway.
And you know what? Speaking of the Snyders, not related.
Yeah, speaking of Snyder, speaking of grim, dark, edgy crap, Zack Snyder. So he has shared a new shot of Michael Shannon's General Zod, who's arguably the best part of the movie. But he did share this lovely little image of him about to be shoved into a penis rocket and being sent to the Phantom Zone.
Calm down. I will find him.
Overacting to the nth degree.
No, it wasn't overacting. It was good. It was really no, it wasn't. That's subjective. But I loved Michael Shannon Zod. I thought he was the best villain we ever got in the DCU EU. I know that's a low bar, but Michael Shannon's always been a great actor, and I think it was a big part of why I love that movie. And yeah, the black and white aura, indeed, Caleb. I will take that comment very unironically from you. It was not overacting.
It was overacting.
It was not overacting.
Anyway. But
you want a hot take debate this up? It was not over. Okay, let's just keep on going. It's fine.
Anyway, but we got a Supergirl fan poster. We got a couple of them. Well, more like you have stuff with the words of truth, justice, whatever, and then you got a little bit, on the side there, and then just more of the same vibe. But there she is with her slushy and her horribly ugly sunglasses and crypto, of course. So yeah, this honestly looks better. This poster is more colorful than the entire trailer combined. So that's but this is apparently this is an alternate teaser poster. It's not just a fan poster, but it's fire. It's fucking great. I put that on my wall. So hopefully,
dude, it's honestly, I love the poster. I love the official poster, but this looks amazing. For anybody saying we didn't get enough color in the trailer, if you get more of this in the movie, I am sold. It looks amazing. This is the kind of poster I would love to get a big print of and just frame it up because it looks beautiful. This reminds me of those Guardians posters from I think the second movie, if I remember correctly. Yeah, more colorful than even those. Those were pretty gritty, dark. It's cute, says that dark lead Eric.
But then we
you got color money. You have a color printer, John.
But we have the biggest quick hit story, I guess. But apparently IGN, the kings of stupidity and terrible opinions, apparently they voted for Superman as the best movie of the year with Fantastic Four hot on its heels. Now, here's the thing. I love Superman, but I hate IGN more. So the thing about this is there is so much to disagree with. First off, with how popular K-pop Demon Hunter is this, bullshit, it lost the first round to fucking How to Train Your Dragon, the fucking shitty live action remake. Get out of here. I refuse to watch the movie, but I know how fucking popular K-pop Demon Hunters is in comparison, and fucking How to Train Your Dragon beats it. Get out of here, first off. And then, you have Thunderbolts beating Ballerina. Bullshit. You have, I mean, Sinners, I can see beating F1, even though I prefer F1. I could see that, though. And then, like, Weapons losing to fucking Fantastic Four. That's just, like, I'm insulted a little bit. Like, Weapons losing to Fantastic mid bland steps. Like, come on now. But I am happy, and come on, I can't believe Sinners lost to Superman. Like,
Ballerina was
I prefer
amazing.
Superman, but like, Sinners, come on.
Wait, no, who lost to F1? Well, I could see it. I enjoyed F1 more, but then again, that's a very subjective opinion. Who did Superman beat there? What's that movie on the right? 72-28. Oh, that's How to Train. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, Fantastic Four, easy right through that bracket. Thunderbolts, no competition. I feel like this is rigged, like Fantastic Four, and look at the competition. Like F1 and Superman are going up against Sinners and shit, and Mission Impossible, which that wasn't a very good Mission Impossible movie, but then you got Fantastic Four going up against 28 Years Later. Clearly, people are going to vote for Fantastic Four, and Ballerina deserved better, by the way, very much did. And look, yeah,
I appreciate
Sinners is better than F1.
Like Frankenstein losing to Thunderbolts, get the fuck. I'm just
glad that's simply because
one battle after another. Fuck that movie, but like, you know,
I think that's simply because not as many people saw Frankenstein. That's the reason why. You know that. Like that's unfortunate.
Nobody fucking saw Thunderbolts. That was the thing. That was like the.
I know. I feel like a good number of people saw it. Like it's still a Marvel movie, and then it did really well once it was on Disney Plus. So yeah, I mean, I'd give it credit where credit's due. Anyway,
but kind of a BS bracket, but
good for Superman.
I do love Superman.
You know,
although James Gunn did respond to it with the praying hands, so
thank you. It was a thank you. Yeah, Superman wins the bracket.
I mean, Ballerina was fine, but, like, it was kind of disappointing, but, you know, I didn't expect much from it anyway. But, yeah, good stuff, I guess, if you know, are happy about this. But, sorry. But now we move on to a little bit of what did Gunn say, because we have quite a bit of that.
What did you gotta there you go.
There it is. So now we're bringing in what did Gunn say, and somebody did a little bit of an oopsie poopsie. So apparently, according to Mayor TV Crave, Marvel projects releasing this year. Cameras roll on Man of Tomorrow, The Batman 2, Lego Batman May 29th, Batman Nightfall, Supergirl June 26th, Lanterns, Clayface, Starfire animated series is currently in development. But James Gunn is like, if Marvel is releasing those projects, I'm going to have a word with Mr. Feige. So, just something I found funny. Like, I just ridiculous. Like, come on, people, proofread your fucking tweets before sending them out. This ain't rocking.
No, I hear you. This was hilarious because I was like, what? Wait, what? Did somebody just use AI to do this? Because this is hilarious. Because I'm like, if this is what Marvel's putting out, I wonder what DC's up to. Like, holy shit. Not to mention, half of this stuff isn't even coming out this year. The Batman Part 2 and Man of Tomorrow are 2027 movies. Batman Nightfall doesn't even have a release date. Or not for this year, at least, I don't think. And the Starfire animated, that's not even got a release date either. So, anyway. And then missed a few things. If they were trying to get it right, they missed the Mr. Miracle show that's in development, and Creature Commando season 2. Like, yeah, somebody go wake up Mayor TV Crave, because and I'm surprised they didn't delete this yet, by the way. Usually they delete it. Oh, you're muted, by the way, unless I'm muted. No, John, you're muted.
You know, new details about the type of actress James Gunn wants for the DCU's Wonder Woman revealed. Like, oh yeah, 100%. He's definitely talking about shit. Gunn did definitely say something about that. Sure. So now my time to shine. So grain of salt has weighed in to say that DC Studios is indeed looking at every young hot, as in upcoming. Not, I mean, sure, we want a hot actress, not like, you know, like fucking Lena Dunham or some shit. Actress for the new female lead in Man
catching
of Tomorrow.
strays.
I don't give a fuck. Lena Dunham's a pedophile. She can fucking go suck a dick. Like, fuck that bitch. I'll call her ugly as much as I fucking want, because she is. So, however, the studio has some specific requirements in that they need her to be tall, of course, in her 20s, and have fighting skills. So, does anybody come to mind, Dan, like immediately when they say that, or no?
I mean, you could bring Gal Gadot back. She's not in her 20s. Not in her 20s. I mean, she checks 2 out of the 3 boxes.
I feel like we have like Elizabeth Debicki. She's tall, but she's not in her 20s and can't fight. And then you have like Katie O'Brien. She has fighting skills, but she's not tall or in her 20s.
Adria Arjona isn't even in her 20s.
None of those. She's not even in her 20s anymore.
Ana de Armas is no. I don't think she's in her 20s. Look, this is why I don't believe this, because the whole tall and in her 20s, like,
that sounds like wish fulfillment more than anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I'm sure casting calls can be that specific. There's no saying that cannot be. I just don't believe this very much, because I don't think they need. Because even when Gal Gadot got cast, she wasn't in her 20s. She did fine. Like, I mean, yes, there's some iconically terrible lines, but. I mean, for the most part, everybody was excited the first time she showed up in the DC EU, and she was, you know, one of the most memorable parts of Batman v Superman. Her first solo movie was pretty good. I don't believe this very much, and it's a very generic description. It's one of those I could have told you that rumors. I don't believe it too much. I will say though, that the requirement will not be that you need to have fighting skills. Most actors don't have fighting skills. What are you trying to do? Like, get somebody who's gonna essentially be, you know, already trained in some kind of martial arts? Like, you want a good actor first, and then you put them through that training in the months leading up to the role. Like Ana de Armas did that for James Bond, and then she did it for Ballerina. We have seen like Gal Gadot obviously do, like plenty of actors do that stuff. Like they'll get trained. Like Monica Barbaro like went through the same training as all the guys did in Top Gun Maverick. Like it's, and you know, and obviously the guys did that too. They had to get used to the G-forces of being in those planes. And we've seen even more than that. Like people go through some extreme transformations to play a role in the movie. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not like the actor themselves is going to be doing their own stunt sequences. So yeah, who's 6'1" Watcher? Like, I don't think they've got anybody cast yet, if that's what you're hinting at. But yeah, I mean, John, do you think any of those criteria would be disqualifying for you? Like, do you need to check all those boxes?
I don't
tall
think so.
20s
like,
and fighting
here's
skills.
The thing, what's tall? Is it above average? Is it at least 6 feet? Is it like actual Amazonian fucking height, which is like 7 to 8 feet tall? Because that's how big the Amazonians actually were. So like, you know, like, and then 20s, do they want a 20-year-old? Do they want a 29-year-old? What do they want there? And then fighting skills, well, does fighting skills mean she has like a black belt in every fighting style, or can she throw a punch good? Like, it's just too vague, and it just seems like what people want rather than something that like a studio, because usually they're more specific. They usually like, we want a redhead 18 to 24 That's usually whenever there's like a casting call. We've talked about this before, where it's like, we want this age range, we want this, we want this, we want that. Like, they're very hyper specific because they want they have someone specific in mind. And this is just like 20s tall fighting skills. Like, that doesn't really tell me a lot, because it's so vague and broad that I feel like this is just something that somebody wants. Like, and I'm not talking about an executive or James Gunn himself or a director or whatever. They're just like, oh, that's what the people want, because they want someone young, tall, and who can throw a punch. Like, you know, it just seems, it's just too vague. Like, I think this is just bullshit, essentially. It's just kind of lame, and I think ridiculous to think like, oh yeah, that seems right. And I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think this rumor is a little too far fetched. And look, Elizabeth Debicki would be fantastic. Audrey Arjona would be fantastic. Uh, any of the other names you guys mentioned, like we have done a fan cast for Wonder Woman like several times. You guys can go back and check that out, whether it's on DCU Daily or recent episodes of Fancast Friday. Speaking of which, we do have that coming up after today's show, and we will pivot to that in a little bit. But before we do that, John, yeah, as far as Wonder Woman goes, we'll wait till the dude make the announcement because I'm sure it will get out there soon enough. I mean, James Gunn might get ahead of it. For all we know, we don't even need a Wonder Woman, or she's not actually going to be in Man of Tomorrow, so they might not be casting her until they actually hire a director for the Wonder Woman movie, which the script is still in development. So until that happens, John, we are going to move on to the last segment of the show because the riot ain't over yet. It's time for the Q&A session, and we got to answer a few questions from the folks. You guys are posting these comments throughout the course of the week, from last week, from this week, and we do this every Friday, and we try to bring back some of those comments, especially the standouts, and let's do a Q&A session. This is part of that interaction. If you guys are watching us live or after you're live, leave your questions and comments down below or on our post in the community post section, and then we'll bring those in. I think we have 3 of them today, John, so let's dive into those. I changed the subheader because the last one didn't quite hit, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like just don't add in another K adjective in there because then we're getting into problematic territory. But the first Q&A question we have is the Rusin Queris, whatever that means. How about Zatanna? For what? For
this is from well, look at the picture behind the text.
Okay.
We were doing the ScarJo fan casting for the Batman Part 2. They were suggesting like, what about playing Zatanna? Do you think ScarJo could be playing Zatanna in the Batman Part 2?
No fucking way, because Matt Reeves isn't putting magic in this world. We gotta have realistic something in the way. So, I don't think they're gonna be adding a magic user into this. And I don't think Scarlett Johansson would play her, even if they did. So, but, I mean, I love the character Zatanna, from what I've read of her and seen of her. I think she would be a great addition to the DCU, but not the Bex. So, and I don't think so. No, I don't think the Batman Part 2 is going to have that at all. And I don't think ScarJo will play her. I don't think anything like that. But I could see her in the DCU, and we could do a fan casting for that later on. But yeah.
Something. Okay, I'm not going to do that. You already did it. Yeah, I don't think they're looking to introduce a Zatanna, especially because, well, you'd really have to try to, like, reach backwards to kind of figure out, like, okay, how is that going to fit into the story? Not saying it's impossible. There's a non-zero chance that might happen. But we talked about Gilda Dent was one of the options on our Fancast Friday episode from this past week. You guys are welcome to go check that out. We went over like 5 options and then a bunch of honorable mentions. None of them were the Zatanna because, I mean, it's like you said, John, it's a much more grounded take on Gotham. So I don't know how well Zatanna might fit into that picture, if at all. So there we go. But I mean, good suggestion. I just don't think in this particular, maybe in the DCU, but I mean, that's not what, Scarlett Johansson signed up for though. So, we have not seen that Amanda Seyfried as Harley Quinn Pacerland, but I will go look for it after the show. And if it's worth bringing into the show, we'll do that next week. But yeah.
So Elite Eazy-E, they're still part of the show. They saw on Deadline Warner Bros. Discovery is set to reject Paramount's latest takeover bid after board meets next week. What's the difference between that meeting and the one next summer that Dan mentioned? When does the sell process initiate? What about the split? So I think this is for you because you're the business boy around here. So
yeah. Okay. So. All right, so to answer, basically what we were talking about was the idea that Warner Brothers this week just rejected the latest Paramount offer. Now, here's the thing. the offer is directly to the shareholders. So the shareholders can still choose to vote in favor of the Paramount offer, and they could do that by tendering their shares to Paramount instead of voting for Netflix. But as far as the deal with Netflix goes, the company has an annual meeting. The annual meeting for Warner Brothers Discovery happens in the summer months. It happened in June last year, so the assumption is that will be around the time this year when they do that. And that's the meeting where, while the board has signed off on the deal, because Warner Brothers is a publicly traded company, the shareholders obviously have a say in this. Now, some of it will be a little more it's sort of a what's the word? It's some of it is semantics. Like it's not really like it wouldn't. Okay, what I'm trying to say is it's not like they could completely change the outcome of the deal because the board, ultimately made the decision and signed the deal with Netflix. But the shareholders could symbolically vote against it by the summer months. But here's the thing: by the time we get to the annual meeting in June, let's say, if enough shareholders have not tendered their shares in Warner Brothers to Paramount, Paramount's out of the game. Remember a couple of years ago or last year at the annual meeting, they voted down David Zaslav's pay package, but it was symbolic because ultimately the board had already signed off on it. So David Zaslav got his millions of dollars and all the bonuses, but yeah, this is more about just shareholder sentiment. It's the board really ultimately makes the decisions. And as far as its impact on I think this was in reference to Paramount basically has until that time to convince Warner Brothers shareholders to change their mind. And instead of going with the Netflix deal, they can give Paramount their share or sell them their shares, and then therefore Paramount could control the company. Because if they don't do it by June, the deal will be officially ratified, then it becomes even harder, almost impossible to reverse it. So it's sort of like, the ink dries by June. Think of it that way. Sorry, I tried to simplify it as much as I can, and hopefully that helps. But yeah.
Okay. I don't really care. So last up, there seems to be some confusion over Netflix having a 17-day movie window. I saw the deadline undergo, and it seemed like to be talking about K-pop Demon Hunters and the Stranger Things finale, but some people are applying it to the future WB acquisition. I think you mean acquisition. Also, Netflix releases movie oddly. Do they only use AMC for some reasons? Sorry, I need to go behind my camera. So, can I not see Stranger Things in, for example, Regal if I wanted it? So I kind of agree with this. The wording was off in that article, and I don't think we have to be worried as of right now. I think 2028, 2029 is when we should start to get worried in terms of Netflix and Warner Brothers, the theatrical windows and all that shit. So, now, in terms of, I think that he was just applying to certain limited releases at this point. I don't think 17 days is what they're aiming for right now. So personally, in regards to all of that, I don't think Stranger Things was just AMC though. I think it was in Regal. In addition to that, I don't know about Cinemark, but they were definitely in Regal, if I remember correctly.
It was.
It was just
I don't
mostly in
right.
AMC. It was just that's where most of the money came from. So
Hey, Bane. Right, exactly. Basically AMC's sales contributed to 60% of that number we were talking about, 25 million plus. So, but the thing is, I don't know if every single theater of all these big chains was participating. So I maybe that's what you're referring to. Like you weren't able to see it in a theater near you because they weren't playing it. I mean, you could still obviously see it on Netflix, but yeah, sorry you didn't get a chance to see it. But yeah, the confusion, those are two different things. Like the 17-day movie window was just a side note, and it was regarding the Netflix and Warner Brothers deal and what they want to do with Warner Brothers movies after the deal, or potentially want to, versus the Stranger Things. Because Stranger Things finale, I think it was only airing that particular day, right? It's not a repeat viewing. You can't go see it now. It released at the same time that it came out on Netflix. If you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't, now you can see it on Netflix. So that's about it. Yeah. A lot of Netflix stuff doesn't even go to AMC because AMC doesn't like to play these for the small amount of time that and Netflix likes to put these their movies on theaters. That's why like Wake Up Dead Man, the last Knives Out movie didn't play in the big theater chains like AMC. But you know, they gave them this for free, you know, so AMC got a chance, and they got a chance to play it for free essentially and make all the money from the concessions. We talked about it earlier in the show, so
yes,
it's a bit repetitive, but nonetheless, hopefully that answers your question, Eric. Yeah, that's all we got. That's all she wrote for DCU Daily on Oh So Curious. We're not done yet though. Give us a few minutes because
it's not over yet.
We got Fancast Friday heading your way. I'm setting up the live event right now on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that. So give us 10-15 minutes to refresh our drinks, use the bathroom, you do the same, and then we'll check back in. We're going to be fan casting Cyclops and Jean Grey, so we'll see you back there, back on the channel for Fancast Friday. It's going to be interesting. John doesn't know my picks because I got a chance to add in a couple of interesting ones today. And that will wrap up the week and the first day of streams in the new year. So, and if you guys are tuning in late, Happy New Year. Hope your 2026 is off to a great start. Hit the like button on your way out. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit notifications so you know, make sure the bell is on so that way you know when we go live. We are here most days of the week. In January and February, we'll have a special schedule where we are streaming live on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, we won't be live, so we can kind of take a bit of a break and then work on new videos that we can then throw in the channel. Like right now, if you are a member, you can see we have a new editorial video that's members exclusive. It will go live publicly in about a week's time, but you get early access. There'll be other new perks and whatnot. So that's what we're doing with that spare time on Wednesday, Thursday, in addition to getting a little more sleep. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Fancast Friday coming up. You guys voted for it. Jean Grey and Cyclops in the new MCU Mutant Saga post Secret Wars. We'll talk about that soon. Until then, John, what are we blessed at the beginning, blessed at the end? Is that what the saying is?
Yes, most definitely. So
it's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
And fuck Jeff Snyder and Tom